you're having a lovely morning. It's a bright new day, and it's time for us to usher you into the dawn of a new day on the AM show. Good morning. I'm Sweetie Abochi.
My name is Benjamin Akakwe, and as always, we are spiritually color-coding. I was just teasing her a short while before we came on air. Look at my tie, look at my pocket square, look at her dress.
You did that. You did that, Benjamin. It is a beautiful morning. How are you feeling?
A tad. I could have slept more. You know, I met someone yesterday who was asking me, how do you people do it? Like in your line of work, how are you waking up at this time of morning? And we are barely awake and you're on TV. And I said to her, well, different strokes for different folks. And what you do, someone may also look at it and say, how do you do this? Everyone must earn his bread.
Well, let's tell you what we have in store for you this morning. Of course, we start by serving you the AM news. And after that, we'll sit with our guests to review the newspapers. Dr. Ikea Mwako is a member of the NPP Communications Directorate. She'll be joining us, as well as Kofi Osei. And he's a member of the CPP Communications team, and then Evan Samwako from the NDC side. They'll be joining us to review the newspapers. And right after that, Muftan Abil Abdullahi will serve you AM Sports. And then our big stories.
Well, when we get into our big stories, if you wanted to quantify how devastating the effect of Galamsey has been, think of 7,500 football pitches. That's the extent of damage to our forest reserves. And it's still ongoing. How do we resolve the issue? From the burning of excavators to the seizure of excavators, the point is this going to yield any results? We'll be tackling that all-important issue right here in our big stories as far as the AM show is concerned.
Ben, you know how the year started and we were sort of criticizing that the issue of Galamsey was missing.
Non-existent.
And all of a sudden, it looks like we're cracking down on them. And I'm excited about that. And the fact that President Mahama is saying don't ban these excavators, but instead seize them so that we can track them to use as evidence to prosecute the perpetrators. I'm curious to see how it all pans out. And
just something interesting from yesterday's conversation with Stanley Marty. Surprisingly, he mentioned that November, December, NTU levels, Central and Western region, the water bodies, 15,000, now 2,000.
Magic.
So, I mean, if we really ramp up on this, it's clear we can win the battle.
It's doable.
It's possible.
Let's get into the AM news now. This is the AM news. Let's start from the fight against Galamsey, because the government goes hard on the fight against Galamsey as it seizes 15 excavators in the latest swoop in the Ofin Shelter Belt Forest Reserve in the Ashanti region and arrests 2 Chinese nationals in the process. The Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, says the spate of devastation of forest reserves by illegal miners is comparable to 7,500 football pitches. And according to him, over 44 forest reserves, which amount to 30 hectares, have been destroyed. Let's tell you more in this report.
The Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, together with the Ashanti Regional Minister, Dr. Frank Amwakohene, and the Regional Security Council toured the Ofin Shelter Belt at Anyuafutu in the Atramamponua district. Addressing the media at the site, Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa described the devastation of the forest reserves by the illegal miners as comparable to 7,500 football pitches.
Been reliably informed that roughly 30 hectares is gone. If you add it to the devastation in the other 44 forest reserves, we are talking about 7,500 football fields that has been destroyed. So when you see this devastation at the heart of the Ofin River, which takes its source from here, what few of our own people are doing to us is that they have come to basically kill us where it matters most.
The minister said the journey of reclaiming destroyed lands has already started. According to him, some persons arrested for destroying the forest will face the law.
Here was very successfully executed. We've driven out, arrested the thugs who have determined to kill all of Ghana. We have seized over 15 excavators. Those you see here are damaged and cannot be moved. We are taking steps to make sure we secure that. Just this past weekend as well, working with the police, we took over another group of thugs on the Ankobra River. We've arrested 7 Chinese and 8 of their Ghanaian accomplices.
Mr. Kofebo has called for public support in the fight against Galamsey.
People who are taking over this forest reserve were armed to the teeth. We just saw in the Amenfi area how Galamseyers, even in the face of police presence, attacked CTFM reporters. This must underscore how deadly this fight is. And that's why we began by calling on the people of Ghana to join us in this fight.
For Joy News, my name is Clinton Yabo.
Moving on, Deputy Finance Minister Designate Thomas Ampem-Nyarko has refuted claims that the new NDC government has borrowed over 38 billion Ghana cedis in its first 4 weeks in office. Member of Parliament for Tano North constituency, Dr. Gideon Boako, during the vetting of the nominee, raised concerns about these early days and rising level of borrowing, despite campaign promises to cut down on borrowing. Now, according to him, the government has already borrowed over 38 billion Ghana cedis in its first few days in office. Let's tell you more.
Mr. Chairman, I'm not too sure if the information he's given about the quantum of government borrowings is accurate. The briefings that I had indicated that we have borrowed on net basis far lower than what you are quoting, but we will have to interrogate that in due time. But, Mr. Chairman, the question is asking how we are going to fund government programs. In fact, the minister stated these over here, and that is exactly what I will repeat, that we are going to aggressively pursue revenue generation, and we will cut expenditure. As for expenditure, we need to constrain it. Without that, there is no way we will be able to achieve our targets. And the way that the president has started, Honorable Achampo started by giving us some hints, by cutting down the number of ministers by about 24, is signaling that the government recognizes the challenges that we are in. And so everybody will then be whipped in line to follow suit.
But the Deputy Finance Minister designate Thomas Ampem-Nyarko rejected the claim, indicating that the new government is pursuing measures to increase revenue generation.
If you follow the trend, within the month of January alone, contrary to what we have been told by government, that we want to cut down borrowing and bring down the rates down, this government in 4 weeks has borrowed 38.5 billion cedis in 4 weeks. That is not a good sign to signal rates to come down. But that is not even the thrust of my question. If government decides to slow down on borrowing, which is to the contrary what is happening, how are you going to finance government expenditure?
That was Dr. Gideon Boako, raising concerns about the spate of borrowing under this new administration. Well, many have criticized him for what they described as his overstretching of nominees. But it is for the same reason others love him, for his thoroughness with the vetting process. By now, you know I'm referring to ranking member of MP for Efutu, Alexander Penyo-Markin, and it appears his presence on the vetting committee alone sent some shivers down the spines. Let's take a look at what happened.
Are we going to inherit your government, or are you going to help your minister to settle?
Don't lead the nominee into temptation.
Honorable members, let's make progress, please.
I don't know why my honorable member wants to lead him into temptation. Why? He should just leave him to stay where he is.
Mr. Chairman, the only reason I want to refuse the temptation is for us to hurry up before Penyo-Markin comes.
Away from that, students of Odorgonno Senior High School flooded the Awoshi-Anya Road, demanding urgent action to end the deadly crossings that have claimed yet another life. The tragic death of a security officer has reignited long-standing frustrations over unsafe roads. Now, their demand is clear: fix the traffic lights and build a footbridge before more lives are lost.
Angry voices. A mass of students brings the Awoshi-Anya Road to a standstill. Students of Odorgonno Senior High School staged a protest on Monday, fed up with the lack of action. Their message: enough is enough.
Street lights anyway now. Yeah, we will not give you way to go to work, and nobody will go anywhere. We will all be there.
The outrage follows the tragic death of Benjamin Akiti, a security officer hit by a speeding vehicle while crossing the highway. His death is just one of many.
At traffic light way, I said more than 4 years. And the drivers need to speed up. Speed on the free market, no. And one of the best saying, Edeko, on background stop, on stop, on your grandpa, on your grandpa, on the bomb, as well as motor riders.
Debia ka ebun kwadawa. Debia ka ebun kwadawa. Eden sunu no. Ya de saying ya omu fiye. Enna saying ya Collins enna ka abono.
For years, students and residents have pleaded for change. Broken traffic lights, no footbridge, lives lost. Yet, nothing has been done. Police moved in to disperse the protest and restore order. The road was cleared, but the frustration lingers. School authorities declined to comment on the demonstration. But for these students, the fight is far from over. They want safety, they want action, and they won't back down until real change happens. Broken traffic lights, a rising death toll. The question remains: will the authorities finally listen? Emmanuel Jivenu, Joy News, Awoshi.
One person has reportedly suffered a broken wrist and another left with a swollen eye after military personnel allegedly brutalized them at Bimsi near Walewale in the northeast region. The military personnel were said to be enforcing a curfew imposed on the area, and the victims have since been treated and discharged. The incident brings the numbers to 10 incidents of alleged military brutalities in the last week since the start of the curfew. And the Member of Parliament, Dr. Tia Abdul Mahama Kabiru, after visiting the victims, has condemned the army's actions and repeated his call to the Interior Minister to urgently bring the curfew to an end.
Another day with a new allegation of military personnel carrying out a punitive expedition against the residents of Bimsi near Walewale in the northeast region. In this fresh allegation, armed soldiers were said to have gone rampage in the community on Saturday evening, dragging out people from their rooms and assaulting them with mesh wires and the butt of their guns. Mohammed Waliu, one of the victims, said he was brutalized at about 6:30 p.m. while standing at the entrance of his house enjoying some fresh air. He showed us evidence of military brutality. He's now left with a swollen eye and severe bodily pains. His helpless father, who witnessed the military attack, is pleading with the government to investigate the action of the soldiers. He reminded the government that their continued presence and alleged illegal act will rather endanger the peace of the area. This 42-year-old elder of the community, Daniel Yidana, also accused the military troops of causing injury to his wrist and showed us the damaged hand. He explained he was on his way home at about 30 minutes before the curfew hours when the fully dressed soldiers pounced on him without any shred of mercy. On the same day, Samiatu Yusuf said her store was invaded and vandalized by the soldiers. She said it took her long moments of begging for the soldiers to spare her some beatings.
So bampana sheka mnema la zwanjera kama ya zwan kwa shela kacha kanje ya kabapana yana vama kampara suguru ka memba no suguru kana vanne mama kaba za sika dan bunan base on pu pa no tia de manation kafa de man la antaba ka ni bu banga bang pa bugo nyua nema kasa pa ba suguru kaba ya ne be changa ka lamna ne be lamna kana bava ne ban tum na kambangi.
Since February
Road construction works on the Pinasuke feeder road in Lambussie district are progressing steadily. The 13-kilometer feeder road has been a major challenge for the people in the enclave for years, as it sometimes becomes unmotorable during the rainy season, thereby halting economic activities. The Member of Parliament for Lambussie, Professor Titus Bayo, expressed optimism about the ongoing construction of the road by the construction firm Asti Ghana. Joy News Upper West Regional Correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
Lambussie district, one of the poorest and deprived districts in the Upper West region. It is bedeviled with myriad of challenges. Chief among the challenges is the plethora of deplorable roads in the district. The entire district, few months ago, could not boast of a single bituminous surface. The narrative, however, is beginning to change with the coming into power of the National Democratic Congress NDC and Professor Titus Bayo winning back the Lambussie parliamentary seat for the party. One of his promises during the electioneering campaign was to fix the problem roads in the enclave and give them a facelift to improve the economy and well-being of the people. One of such roads in the district is the Pinasuke Road, which is usually unmotorable during the rainy season and dusty during the dry season. Professor Titus Bayo painted a mental picture of the road during the aforementioned seasons.
It's a nightmare. I think that's what I would say. In the rainy season, before this work that we are seeing, it's muddy, it's slippery. Along the dam side, the road gets flooded and people cannot cross on the market days. In fact, it was one of the side effects when we were constructing the dam. People were worried about as an adverse outcome from the dam construction. It gets flooded, and on market days, it's very difficult to cross it.
Work is progressing steadily as the contractor has shown his commitment to ensuring that the work is completed on time. The Lambussie legislature is excited and is already counting on the economic benefits that the people will derive from the construction of the road.
In the district, we have about few commercial towns. One of the commercial towns in the district is Pina. And Pina Market is one of the busiest markets here when you come here. And this is the major road that opens up that market, that links it to the communities I've mentioned. So it's a very useful road for us. This road also runs by the dam that was constructed by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama for us last year. And there's a lot of commercial activity we are expecting around the dam. People are already fishing. Some dry season gardening is beginning, and with all of this, we need access for people to be able to do the commercial activities. You also know that Lambussie is a major farming area, and a lot of our farming activities are occurring around the environs of Lambussie towards Suke, Samoa, in that enclave. So it also allows people to be able to cart their goods to the adjoining district and also to down south.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam, Pina.
The Executive Secretary of the Ghana Importers and Exporters Association, Samson Nasaki Awingobit, has called for swift action on the passage of the legislative instrument for the Ghana Shippers Authority. He emphasized that once enacted, the LI will strengthen enforcement mechanisms and streamline operations within the shipping industry. His call comes in the wake of the passage of the Ghana Shippers Authority Act 2024 in October last year. Speaking to Joy News after a courtesy call on the newly appointed Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Shippers Authority, Professor Ransford Jampo, on Monday. Mr. Wingobit stressed the urgency of the LI's passage to ensure effective regulation and industry growth.
We really advocate, and now we have a new Parent Stipends Authority Act. In fact, we were saying it should be amended, but at the end of the day, it was a fully fledged new Parent Act that was passed in the 8th Parliament, right? We are in the 9th Parliament. In the 8th Parliament for Ghana Stipends Authority. But, you know, they cannot just use the Parent Act to start working. It needs an LI. The LI will then draw its powers from the Parent Act. And so there was a, prior to December, there was a, November, October, November, there was a committee that was set up comprises all of us to look into the LI drafting. And I'm sure it is now at the constituting stage for it to be sent to Parliament, for Parliament to give it the approval. Then, full-fledged, the Parent Act is here, the LI is here. Ghana Stipends Authority can now regulate proper and can cause for arrest and can take someone to court for not respecting the law of the Stipends Authority and to enforce it to make sure that whatever negotiation, you know, they are part of their responsibility is to negotiate with port authorities, terminal operators, and even including shipping line for charges. So that's the charges. If it's not being approved by Stipends Authority, then you cannot introduce any charge. We have had a series of charges that this shipping line continued introducing to the effect that one shipping line is even introducing what we call on inland transport charge.
Well, on his part, Acting Chief Executive Officer of the Ghana Shippers Authority, Professor Ransford Jampo, has pledged to engage all stakeholders fairly and transparently within the shipping industry. He emphasized his commitment to ensuring the passage of the LI to regulate shipping business in the country.
We are still also consulting people, including shipping lines and all those who have been charging you. We are consulting all of them that they make input. But once we are firmed up on the legislative instrument and we commence the implementation of the law, we will do so firmly and fairly. For me, I don't believe in lackadaisical attitude. If I will do it, I'll do it. If I won't do it, I won't do it. I don't believe in mediocrity. I'm a fair-minded person. And so we would implement the law following the conclusion or the passage of the legislative instrument in a manner that will protect the interest of the shipping lines, in a manner that will also protect the interest of both importers and exporters and every stakeholder within the shipping fraternity. So we'll be fair in doing some of these things, and things that are unfair we will disallow, and we will do so all with the view.
In other news, to promote gender equality and academic excellence, an NGO, the Ennobled Foundation, has partnered with the University of Professional Studies to establish a prestigious award for the best graduating female student in accounting and finance. Now, this is to encourage more females to choose, study, and enjoy the course. Jennifer August sat through the event, which captured this milestone and reports.
The Ennobled Foundation offers mentorship programs and educational initiatives that cater to diverse professional fields. The foundation structures its mentorship programs to provide guidance and networking opportunities for women. Founder of the Ennobled Foundation, Gloria Boy Doku, stated that the foundation continues to fulfill its mission of providing opportunities for women so they can achieve their full potential with less or no hurdles, and also aspire to become leaders in their respective fields.
A platform dedicated to empower our younger generation to achieve excellence. Noble Foundation is not only into mentorship, but we are also into education and academic excellence, which is the award we have established with UPSC to award the best graduating female student. We have a lot of mentors that are volunteering with the NGO. So we don't only have people with background in accounting. We have people with diverse backgrounds. So the mentees, we are able to pair them with the right mentor or in their field of study or in their industry so that they get the relevant knowledge they need and the guidance they require.
Dean of the Accounting and Finance Faculty, Professor Isaac Boedi, was optimistic. The partnership, which aligns with the university's goal of promoting academic excellence and empowering female students, will increase their enrollment.
With this initiative, I'm sure the female students here are going to do their best to achieve excellence in their field, especially in accounting and finance. We have a team that will sit and then do the selection, and the right person will be selected and then will be awarded accordingly. With this initiative, I'm sure the female people will come along, and that will go a long way to help them to study.
The partnership between the Ennobled Foundation and UPSA marks an important step towards recognizing and rewarding outstanding female students in accounting and finance faculty. Jennifer August reports to you.
That takes us to our business update now with Benjamin Akapo.
Welcome to our business updates. Time now for us to head right into the currency market for today. Well, let's get into the stories now. And the Food and Beverages Association of Ghana has made a strong appeal to the government to remove the excise taxes on fruit juices. The association argues that its imposition has severely affected the local industry and hindered economic growth. Reverend John Aoune is the executive chairman of the association.
For some years now, you will notice that the manufacturing sector has been growing negatively. And your manufacturing sector cannot grow negatively if you really want to achieve a really reasonable level of development in terms of industrialization and even for your agricultural sector. Because agri and manufacturing are normally very linked together. So in the coming budget, much as the finance minister seeks to withdraw the e-levy, withdraw COVID levy, withdraw betting tax, I think that they must go beyond that and deal with the heavy taxation in the manufacturing sector, the heavy taxation in the business sector. In the manufacturing sector, for instance, particularly in the food and beverage sector, where I speak for, I would say that the government must consider strongly and remove the 20% excise tax that was imposed on fruit juices and beverages in the country, because clearly that tax has hit a major blow on that sector of the industry, and many plants are now abandoned. There has been a decline in production from 85% to about 38%, and there has been serious levels of unemployment in that sector, and the revenue mobilization, I believe, has also gone low because sales has gone down. So we must come up with a major fiscal policy in terms of the removal of that particular tax to ensure that there's life brought back. And when that tax is removed, I believe that it will give meaning to the 24-hour economy that the government seeks to implement, particularly in the manufacturing sector. You cannot produce 24 hours if sales is low. You cannot produce 24 hours when you remain very uncompetitive in the sub-region. So let that tax be taken out in this 2025 budget, and then you will see a major incline in sales.
In our second story, Deputy Minister Designate for Finance Thomas Nyako Ampim says government has plans of developing industry-specific interventions for the private sector coupled with improved infrastructure. According to him, this is aimed at revitalizing the private sector and creating jobs. He spoke when he appeared before the Appointments Committee of Parliament.
When you are kind enough to recommend me for approval, I'll be going to the ministry to support the finance minister to deliver on the mandate, and specifically in the area that the honorable member is asking. Yes, our manifesto said exactly what she quoted, but I think that we do not have a one-fit-for-all policy or intervention for every aspect of the private sector, and so we will have to have specific interventions for instance, agric. We should have specific intervention to support agric, and here we will work with the agric minister to see what can be done. Apart from maintaining a macroeconomic stability.
Now, at what rates are commodities actually selling this morning? Let's find out. And that's it for our business updates for the morning. Handing over back to Sweetie Abochi.
Well, thank you, Ben, for serving this business updates. Let's get into our news review now, because Evans Amwako is a lawyer and member of the NDC communications team. And Dr. Ekuya Amwako is also a member of the NPP communications directorate, and Oseko Fiakwa is from the CPP communications team. And they join us to review the newspapers in a bit. Please stay.
Welcome back. This is the news review on the AM show. We get right into it. Joining the conversation, they say ladies first, don't they? Dr. Ekuya Amwako is with the Communications Directorate of the New Patriotic Party. Oseko Fiakwa is with the CPP's Communications team. Lady, gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you for joining the conversation. I'm going to start with a very basic question. And I want to see whether it will take a political swing. Many months back, we used to talk about the state of life. I'll start with you, Doc. How are you feeling in Ghana under John Dramani Mahama?
I don't know how I'm meant to answer this question. My lights have been going off quite frequently, so that's one of my main challenges. Yes, that's one of my main challenges. And another issue has been brought to my attention, actually, by my colleagues regarding their car waivers, which...
regarding
their car waivers. You know, in our last conditions of service agreement, when I say I mean GMA, there were stipulations in there for tax waivers for importation of cars. So
for medical doctors.
Exactly. So last year we were able to clear a few cars with the help of the former Minister of Health and Finance. And because of that, a lot of my colleagues went ahead to purchase more cars outside, and now there are over 51 vehicles that are stuck at the port. We are not getting any feedback from the Ministry of Finance as to why there's a delay in signing the tax waivers, and the charges at the port are accruing. So as you can imagine, that's a very sensitive topic for us. It's basically all we discuss on our pages now. We're not even in the frame of mind to give the best to our patients. So I would like to use this platform to draw attention of all stakeholders involved so that we can swiftly address this matter. Even if it's something they don't want to do going forward, we just plead with them to clear the cars that are already at the port. Because people took loans to be able to buy these cars. They budgeted that they will not pay certain fees. So situations like this can be very depressing for them. People are calling me all the time, morning, evening, nights. They're having sleepless nights. So, I mean, that's something that I hope that the current administration will look at critically.
Is it something, though, I'm curious, before I go to, is it something, though, that should have been completed in the last quarter of last year? You do realize in the first 2 months of this administration, and some of these matters, in fact, I do know for a fact that there are some things that will be done eventually, which for now, owing to what the NDC has said about the state of the economy and other things, they are working at looking at the full picture before going ahead with. And this dovetails to it eventually, the buck stops with government, right?
Exactly.
So is it not a time game? Is it not
No,
something it's always done, isn't it?
So even it's not something that's always done. It's something that we enjoyed under ex-President Kufuor, but during the first.
Is it only under ex-President Kufuor?
Oh, let me land, Ben.
You enjoyed it.
Under the first under ex-President Kufuor, during ex-President Mohammed's time, it was unceremoniously cancelled, and it was something that the immediate past NPP government was working to bring back. In fact, it was one of our manifesto promises to regularize it so that it's not only a matter of conditions of service. That's, you know, sort of, as is happening now. There becomes
you were
a lot
working
of,
to bring it back as you campaign for
exactly,
2024.
exactly. So that's why, yes, exactly. So that's why we started with that. And even the first week in January, before the handing over, 2nd or 5th, we were able to clear some vehicles. So it's something that's ongoing. That's, I mean, by what I'm hearing from the leadership of GMA and everything, it's down to a simple signature. So no, on that question, I do not believe that.
It's down to a simple signature.
Yes.
That's an interesting.
I mean, yeah, you just have to sign the car waiver. Then we can take it to the ports to show that Ministry of Finance has waived these taxes so we can clear the car. So I don't see what the hurdles could be, considering that in the first week of January we were able to clear some vehicles. And it's the time factor, demurrage.
Well, demurrage, right.
Yeah.
We'll leave that to the ministry, and if there's any justification eventually, I'm sure they'll come out. There are those who also say that if doctors are enjoying this, how about this group and that group and that group? I've heard those conversations.
Well, that's a conversation for later.
Just something quickly, so I bring in Osei Kofi. You say your lights have been going out nowadays, right? Last year, were your lights going out?
Well, it was happening maybe once in 10 days. Now it's every day. It's not something I wanted to bring up, but you asked me how I was faring. And for me, electricity is one of those things. When it's hot, my whole life, I mean, I become...
So we are in this together.
I become a different person. So, yeah. I mean, the frequency is just too much. And this is like in Odorgonno. Usually, it takes some time for the tide of doomsday to reach us. But this time, I don't know, they seem to have started with us. So we'll plead with them, please.
Right. Osei Kofi, any thoughts? Yes. I mean, I'll ask about Wasitinemu as well. Course. And then if... I believe you added your take?
Yes,
you added your take
exactly,
to it.
Yeah.
Okay, so Wasitinemu, and then you add your 1 minute of reflections, and then we go.
You did predict that it was going to take a political twist. I mean, we all know that this government has barely been in office for about 2 months. And in fact, the lights were going off before the elections, and they are still going off. That we all lived to tell. And then, as far as I'm concerned, if there's going to be any tax waivers and all that, it has to be in the budget. And the budget is yet to be read.
No, so there a budget for last year.
Well, the point is that I'm not sure this government came in and decided that there was a tax waiver for doctors and all that, and I'm cancelling it, you know. So let's see what the other budget
mentions that the Bawumia campaign was thinking of bringing it on board if they had won.
But so the point is that if the Bawumia campaign
technically is in existence,
exactly.
Technically,
no, it's in our conditions of service that has been signed. So this is not a matter.
No, but the previous. But like you also mentioned.
So if it exists, when did it get cancelled?
Did I say it was cancelled?
No, but the point is you are not enjoying it now.
Vehicles have been locked up. We are just asking for you to sign the papers so that the vehicles are cleared. It is in our conditions of service. So even if we want to talk about it...
So you think it's deliberate?
I'm not saying this. I cannot presume to know the mind of the finance minister. But
let's all wait until the budget is read. Because I'm sure...
But just on the point Osei Kofi was making, you did mention that it was cancelled under the Mahama administration.
Yes, the first Mahama.
I think that's what he was referencing. So it was cancelled then.
Yes.
Then.
And the NPP was trying to bring it back, like you said.
In their campaign promise.
Even in the NDC's manifesto is theirs. I'll pardon you.
So let's all wait for the budget to be read. Let's all wait for the budget to be read.
No, you can imagine a young doctor who has gone to take a loan for a car. He has bought the car now. The car is sitting at the port for almost 2 months now. We are asking you to put yourself
I'm not trying to...
So this matter is not even political.
An antagonist of doctors. But the point is that you are not the only civil service. I mean, we've got teachers as well. We've got military men and all that, okay? So, I mean, you're a doctor and you're advocating for where you belong, okay? But the point is that let's not really be on the neck of government because of this thing, all right? But I think that let's wait until the budget is read and let's see what the NDC government has to offer. Until then, I mean, let's
but let's just be fair here. She has every right. She has every right. I mean,
of course, that's what I'm saying.
Area of interest.
That's what I'm saying. That from where she's coming from, of course, if maybe a military man was here, he probably might also be advocating for the same thing. So I don't have any qualms.
But at the same time, I agree with both of you on what you're saying. She has an interest.
Of course.
You don't have to.
Exactly.
You brought it into the country. We all know what demerits does in terms of cost. Yes. But at the same time, you're also not the only civil servant.
Exactly.
I've always said that when this conversation has come up, some people feel hard done by.
I'm telling you.
Because they feel, look, even what you doctors get, they don't get a fraction of it in terms of benefit. However, I do agree that compared to other jurisdictions, we could do much more for our healthcare providers. It's not. I'm not against.
And Benji, let me support you. Let me support you.
There are pros and cons of all.
Who lectures the doctor to become a doctor?
Right. A doctor, actually. In medical school, we are taught by adults.
But the point is that at the end of the day, maybe it fall under a category of lectures, okay? Some sort of teachers. Somebody taught you something, okay, from the primary level all the way to the junior high school level and the high school level and all that. See, that's why I don't want to bring the conversation up, because if you decide to go for this, the teachers might also do that. Other civil service might also do that.
And in the past, there have been actually such,
agitations and all that.
Agitations where, and I feel, to be fair, that teachers are probably one of the most undervalued.
I'm telling you. I'm telling you.
I have taught before.
I have also taught before.
But the point is that
why did he leave?
People in that sector.
Why did he leave?
What did I?
Why did he leave?
Oh no, it was doing other things. I wasn't doing that alone.
I left because
I have lectured
and there was no motivation at all. Okay. I also taught before.
So
so what I'm saying is that teachers who teaches the doctors and the nurses and the policemen and the military men and all, they don't even have these waivers. And it's unfair.
And I do agree to a certain extent, as we move on, that we should also give government some room to operate. I see a lot of things in respect of the economy and trying to streamline a few things. I agree with you and your.
And I was coming
with
there.
Kofi and his concerns, but I also feel I think time always. I do understand the marriage bit, but let's face it as well.
Sensitive matter.
Let's face
How
it
is the time sensitive?
Going into an election.
It's not rotting away.
No, but if we don't get the car
the budget is going to be read.
More charges have been incurred.
And you are sounding
and the person who took a loan to buy the car is now going to have to take another loan
by next week or something.
I mean, come on.
Okay,
I mean,
all right.
seriously.
But
so I didn't even exhaust it. I didn't exhaust it.
Okay.
You asked my sitting.
All right.
The lights are going off. Inflation is still high. But then I see a beacon of hope. Okay, yes, I watch you every day. And of course, I watch you read the newspapers and all that. And through the news articles, I see that this government is poised to do something different from what was being done. Now that I have this opportunity, let me also break this news. The Convention People's Party has headed to the Supreme Court. Our mission is simple. We believe that it is time we rename our international airports. The man who took gun and overthrew the first Republican Constitution, the decision of the people, has been honored to the extent that our international airport, the main entrance and the exit point into this country, has been named after him. If care is not taken, and we are doing this because we think that the 2024 elections has justified that our democracy has been consolidated. If we don't take care and still allow this to fester, we might not like what lies ahead. We saw when the Burkinabe military leader came into this country, the cheers and the applause and all that. And of course, we were surrounded by Burkina Faso, which has a coup d'etat leader, Niger, Mali, and the Saharians. So what we're saying is that let's remove the name of Kotoka and every military man who did not become a head of state through a democratic means, so that it will inform and serve as a deterrent to any military man who is thinking that things are not going the way he and his fellow colleagues are feeling, and that they want to take the barrel out of the gun. So the CPP is in court. And as we go on, we'll feed you with more information as on when we appear before.
Are you pushing for, because I saw something, Dr. Kwame Nkrumah?
No, we are not really.
Because
pushing.
I saw something on social media.
That is other people suggesting that can be reading. But we, the CPP, are not really for, renaming the whole thing after Nkrumah.
But growing up, at least to the extent that I schooled in Ghana, when I did, I always found it curious that Kotoka International Airport had the name it did. Well, I always found it a bit curious. There have been those who have also justified.
There's so much justification for that.
It's a long story if we get into that.
Let me satisfy your curiosity.
Found it curious.
The president at that time, when you and I were growing up, loved Kotoka, held him in high esteem, and even, said that he was his hero.
Let's show. I don't want it to become another.
Because I will never at any point in time say that just a justification that one picks up a gun and say that I am wiser than 32 million people who went to the polls and voted.
Sorry, but the justification for declaring yourself president for life, really?
Who declared himself for life?
Let's move on with this.
Doc, you get your facts right. Nobody declared himself for life. You see, the proposal
was it not the
in Parliament? Exactly. You see, and that Parliament.
It was the Parliament that did that. But Osekofi, to be fair,
who was controlling the Parliament?
Aram Ponsan, who was from the UP, was there.
Who banned the formation of other political parties? Made the country a one-party.
Supposed to be
CPP find something better.
Who represents you and I? So if people go and say that we think that is the way forward, how do you blame Kwame Nkrumah for that?
All right.
Kwame Nkrumah never wanted to be a president for life.
Thank you.
That's a record.
I'm just curious. Do you think it would be fitting if we named it Dr. Kwame Nkrumah International?
What's wrong with Kotoka International?
Everything's wrong.
No, I'm asking you, if it were changed, would it be bad?
No, I don't see the points in changing it. I mean,
you love Kotoka.
If it's not broken, don't fix it.
You love Kotoka.
All right.
Oh, come on. You want to whitewash our...
Ladies and gentlemen.
It's broken.
Come here. Ajobrel. So, government determined to win Galamsey war. That's according to the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, Emmanuel Amakofibua. Poor charges to be reduced, taxes, duties, levies targeted. Maybe if you just waited, maybe this might kick in and the doctors might benefit. AGI ready to partner government on 24-hour economy. Will prioritize low-cost housing for workers, John Bauer says so. On the back page, government committed to addressing power deficit. That's according to the minister. This should also excite you. And First Bank, Ghana supports young soldiers accommodation project. So I'll start with the issue of a power deficit. Government is keen about addressing the shortfall in power supply caused by the ongoing maintenance activities on the West African gas pipeline. As an interim measure, so this has been mentioned, quite a number, why these supply challenges are happening, because there is the maintenance WAPCO that is going on. As an interim measure, the government procured the alternative fuels, that is liquid oils, to power the thermal plants within the period that gas would not be available, which was being used to produce just enough power to meet the demand with no reserve margin, putting a huge strain on the supply of power. The Ministry of Energy and Green Transition, John Abdullahi Janapo, speaking to journalists in Tema, so it goes on and on about what he made mention of. And I also heard from the grapevine that some of what was procured was not immediately available. It was coming in tranches or batches, so which would mean that intermittently there would be a few of these adjustments. We all want power to be on, bottom line, and that's it. First Bank Ghana supports Young Soldiers Accommodation Project. It has donated 50,000 to support the Ghana Armed Forces Quick Impact Project, an initiative spearheaded by the Chief of Army Staff, Lieutenant General Bismarck Kwesi Onwana. Then maybe I'll just do another story. You dilate on them before I continue. Port charges to be reduced. The government will review taxes, duties and levies at the local ports to create a favorable business environment and make the country's ports an attractive destination that will draw in businesses from across the West African sub-region. The Minister of Transport, Joseph Bukari Nikbe, who disclosed this, said this was part of the government's effort to work with relevant stakeholders in the shipping industry to reduce the rising cost of doing business at the country's seaports. Consequently, he said the government would review laws governing the country's shipping industry to reduce the daunting bureaucracies associated with doing business at the ports. I'll start with you this time, Osei Kofi.
Yes, Benji, what you just read is the reason why I see a beacon of hope. Okay, there's a fighting spirit by this government to right certain things that were done wrong in the previous administration. The issue of Galamsey. Yesterday, one of the papers carried that 44 of our forests, okay, are in the hands of illegal armed men. It's scary, isn't it?
Right, it is.
That
about
our forest reserve.
Yes. Pitch.
And imagine that these forests, which have been given to us by God, okay, and is in the custody of the state, is being manned by people who are heavily armed. So I'm thinking that, okay, so before these people came in there, my grandfather or my grandmother was a cocoa farmer. What it means is that the person cannot go or have access to the cocoa farms anymore because these people are armed and they can kill and then, maim whoever tried to enter into that forest reserve. And then out of the 44, 9 of them is not in the custody of the state. I don't understand. Because what it means is that the land is in Ghana, but it is not in the custody of the state. How do we justify this? And all these things have come about because certain people think they have muzzles, they have guns. And so they can enter into our forest reserves and then decide to do illegal mining.
Right.
And that has festered for a long time. And the painful part of it is that so many monies were wasted to combat this illegal mining. And it never worked. For 8 years, national security couldn't combat it. The Ghana Police Service could not do anything about it. Of course, the Ghana Armed Forces could not do anything about it.
Right.
And so the war to win Galamsey, okay, is a must. It's non-negotiable at all. Because if the last 3 dies, the last man die.
All right.
So I'm thinking that this is a good call. We are urging them on, and they should be brutes. I am not for the banning of those excavators. But I'm also very skeptical.
The president has said seize them, use them as evidence.
But I'm skeptical about it.
And maybe
I'm skeptical about it.
Right.
And the reason is because these excavators were once upon a time confiscated in this country.
Right.
Under the care of Professor Bob.
Right.
What happened to them? They flew away. They vanished. Okay? So I really...
Is it possible for things to be done differently so that this time...
That's why I'm saying that there's a beacon of hope. Okay?
Right.
But they should pick some lessons, okay,
right,
from the previous administrations and make sure that this time the Ghanaian can trust them.
All right, for the sake of time,
yes.
Is there any other thing?
Yes, of course.
The port charges?
The port charges, I'm also very happy about it. Okay. I'm sure Doc very soon will have access to her cars. And this time, because the charges will be dropped and all that. Okay. And of course, I am also looking at the port charges dropping down inflation. Very, very important. Okay, especially the basic necessities of life. When you go to the market to buy, simple items, you realize that they are very expensive.
Right.
So dropping those charges at the port, I think, are very, very important. Then at the back of it, you talked about John Jinapor and then the attempt to what do you call it? The WAPCO. What do you call it? I don't know if you can remind me.
So
no,
there's the maintenance
that is going. You see. This is
so
what...
The caption is government committed to addressing power deficit.
Yes. Now, what has come about this power deficit is because supposedly WAPCO is trying to undertake maintenance. You see, our means of producing power, it is too mechanical.
And you have to be a bit brief on that.
Benji. Okay, so I think that
going
forward, we should look at renewable energy. Okay, if it was solar, if it was wind turbines and all that, would we have this excuse that there's going to be maintenance and because of that, we need to rationalize power and all that? So going forward, John Jinapo, we know you're a young man, you seem to be on top of issues and you know where you're going. Going forward, let's think about renewable energy so that we don't have these excuses about shutting down and then cleaning up and then, the engines and all those things. So basically, because of time, that's where I'll wrap up for now.
All right. Let me also welcome aboard the conversation Evans Amankwa. He's
my own brother.
He's also a member of the communications team of the NDC. Evans, good morning. You're looking very colorful.
Thank you.
On the show, we give just a little time for reflection. I'll just give you some 30 seconds. Is there anything on your mind quickly, and then we'll continue with the papers.
Oh, let me take the opportunity to say a very big good morning to your viewers, cherished viewers, and that of NDC Regional Executive Committee members in Ashanti region, and that of His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. Very big good morning to them all. And I would also want to take this opportunity to remind our appointees that Ghanaians has given us the opportunity to serve them. We need to serve them with goodwill and with respect, with humility, so that we'll be able to deliver the mandate that Ghanaians has given to NDC and His Excellency John Dramani Mahama.
Yeah. Thank you for those succinct comments. There's also government determined to win Galamsey war. That's according to the minister. Will prioritize low-cost housing for workers. That's according to John Bauer. And AGI ready to partner government on 24-hour economy. But just on the bit about Galamsey, I know you would have some reactions to the stories we've done. So I'll take your reactions and then we'll take it from there.
Okay, so I think with the matter of Galamsey, if we were to all remove the hypocrisy and how we always want to taint it, when we were in government, I always maintained that the political stance we were taking was only to the detriment of the people of Ghana. And now that they are in government, of course, we wish them well to be able to combat the menace, but we're also very mindful of everything they said and did when they were in opposition. We're also very mindful of key members of their party that have recently been fingered, especially with the matter of mining in forest reserves, to the point that even their local traditional councils seem to have banished them. There's nothing we've heard from the NDC leadership on this matter. There's nothing we've heard from the presidency on this matter. So it's a little difficult.
You're referencing the Our Win
Exactly. The MP for Our Win and everything that's been going on there. It's almost a little hypocritical that nothing has been said about that. I don't know if he's been called, but basically the people of Ghana have not heard anything to give us confidence that the NDC indeed has the goodwill to go after their own people who are flouting the law. Because I even remember that during the campaign, His Excellency John Mahama did say that none of his appointees should be involved in mining, full stop. So if someone is involved in mining and it doesn't even end there, he has taken over the forest reserve with thugs as it's were. I mean, I think it's something that should be discussed properly at the national level, and we expect to hear from them. What are they doing about that? Has the MP been sanctioned? I mean, is he going to respond to these allegations? At this point, I think there's even more than enough evidence for us to drop the allegedly tagged, because I don't think the traditional leaders of that area will come up, make press conferences and do all of this if they weren't cocksure of what was happening. So I think that's a situation that should be brought to the attention of the government, and we expect to hear from them on that. With the issue of the port charges...
Just a quick bit before you get to the port charges. I agree with you. I'll come to you, Evans. I agree with you on what you said. Regardless of which government is in power, it matters not whose ox is God. We must deal with this menace because it's an existential threat. Whether it's NPP, NDC, Galamsey is Galamsey, it's illegal. We must deal with it. But since you talk about these issues, I'd also like to find out, what do you think about the fact that in the last 6 days of President Akufo-Addo, his government granted 318 mining-related licenses within 6 days?
So this issue of mining licenses is something that has been greatly discussed. When we were in government, our approach was to regularize the sector, and so that we bring a lot more people into the regulatory framework so that we can adequately monitor them. So in the process of licensing, I'm sure you've spoken to the former Minister for Lands, Honorable Samuel Abu-Jinapor, on the matter. It's not something he did lightly. There was a lot of due diligence that went into granting of those licenses. And it's always...
Do you realize this quantum within 6 days?
Ben,
even if you look at the trajectory of licenses that were granted,
the number of people...
in the period of the NPP,
the number
over
of,
1,000.
You know,
and you look at the quantum within the last 6 days.
It doesn't mean that those people applied for the lines.
Very curious.
It doesn't mean that those people applied for the licenses in those 6 days and received the licenses in those 6 days.
No, it doesn't.
It takes a very
but it also
long
means
period.
Those could have segued into a different period. They could have been left, but for some reason they were granted right before the 7th of January.
Do you agree with me that the people doing Galamsey, they don't wait for a license? They actually do not require the license to go and do what they need to do. So if we are making efforts to regularize the sector and to get people licensed so that we can monitor them, I don't see how that also became an issue during the campaign. Because the people that are mining in the forest reserves, mining in the water bodies, doing indiscriminate mining, they don't wait for you to give them a license.
But you do know that there are some with legitimate, and that's the other side of the problem. I thank my director for, there are some people who have licenses to do the right thing, and they are still doing what is illegal. In addition to it, even there are some small-scale miners who are legitimate, who are also doing certain things they shouldn't do. So it's not just a problem of the illegality in the sense of those who don't have license.
Yes, so I mean, I don't know what you prefer to do. Put a halt on all licenses so that everybody does the things the wrong way, or try to regularize and give us as many as them that are ready to fall into the legal framework a license. Even for this government, I'm not going to be one of those people that will accuse them of granting licenses just because they accused us of granting licenses. Personally...
That's because you are guilty.
Please let me finish. Personally, you can go and talk to the MP for our win. All your commentary this morning is confusing me as to who you are actually representing here.
I'm representing CPP.
Anyway, let me continue before I lose my train of thought. Personally, growing up in Kumasi and actually having some experience in passing by these Galamsey areas, the situation on the ground is sometimes quite different. We have people in Accra, sometimes we are very removed from what actually happens in these Galamsey areas. It's a very serious matter. I like to say that it is like our cocaine problem in Ghana. The way Colombia has the drug trade, we have the Galamsey menace. People are digging under their beds and things. It requires...
Otumfuo has said that even his concessions have been...
Yeah, people will encroach. See, you can have your concession, someone will just encroach. You can finish with your concession, do the regrassing or the reforestation that is required. Right. You will go and come, someone has started into your concession mining. And do you think these people were granted licenses to come into your concession? So another issue that happens there is disputes. People are always fighting over boundaries of concessions and whatnot. So I think the approach here should be an overarching approach to be able to sanitize the system and regularize the people, because you cannot stop them from mining.
All right. I noticed you wanted to talk about, is it the four charges? We can skip it?
Yeah,
all right.
To save time.
Okay. So let me come to Mr. Amankwa now.
Okay, so...
A lot has been said. What are your thoughts on these matters?
You see, when it comes to Galamsey, sometimes I get it a bit emotional when NPP people are trying to justify their actions and inactions. But let me talk about the issue of the Awin MP, because I am a lawyer in that matter. And seriously...
So, Counsel, you would have to... I'm sure you are fully aware of the lines you would have to walk so that you don't...
Yes.
You don't incur the wrath of the court.
No,
but you go ahead.
First of all, the Awin MP, Honorable Oscar Labi, is not the one doing mining in the forestry reserve. Not at all. Because you see, you made a press conference in relation to the MP that you've invited the MP, he did not come. His PA came, made some assertions, and you misrepresented the person. Now the person goes on air to clarify the issue. You are saying that the person has caused a lot of dissatisfaction for the NANUM, and for that matter, you've banished the person in that community. And you get people to talk about the fact that the MP is the person who is doing the illegal mining over there. Please look at the number of days that NDC has taken power or NDC has been in office. Do you think that if you look at the extent of damage that has been caused in that forest, would that MP within that short time be able to cause that damage in that forest? It's something that has been done.
Is it also not a matter we have to get into if damage has been caused and if someone has come and likely, I'm not saying he is adding on to the damage, is that not something we ought to interrogate? That is,
you see, that is why I'm...
And I said if.
Yeah, that is why I'm trying to say that the MP has not done any mining in that forest. He's not part of it. So that is why we are inviting the national security and the security apparatus to arrest those people in that forest. Because the MP has not done anything over there.
So why did Nananum say what they did?
Because the Nananum, most of them are involved in that Galamsey. So when there was change of power, the MP took to himself and decided that they have to stop the Galamsey in that forest. And that is why they overturned and made a press conference in that direction.
So this is a simple matter of interest.
Exactly.
That's what you are saying.
Total interest. That is why some people are in court. Yes, some people are in court in relation to us.
Okay.
You see?
All right.
So, and again, you see, when it comes to Galamsey, please, let's be realistic. You see, we're talking about granting mining licenses, 318 mining licenses within 6 days. You are legitimizing somebody illegality because the person is already doing Galamsey and you are giving the person license to go ahead and do that Galamsey. And if you are able to grant licenses for 318 licenses to people, I mean, what kind of irresponsible act is that? Because if indeed you are showing good faith in relation to the granting of that licenses, you wouldn't have done that within that period, within 6 days. So this is something that we need to condemn in all uncertain terms. For the fact that we are talking about Galamsey, we are talking about illegal mining. People who are saying, you see, the people who commit the most offenses in relation to Galamsey are the people who claim to have licenses. They are the people who are causing the havoc and the damage to our water bodies and our forests. Right. That is the people who have been doing that because they go there, they go to the communities with these licenses and have the impudence and the audacity to create that chaos by causing damages to the forest and the water bodies. And when you talk about Galamsey issues in this country, NPP and their leadership cannot deny the fact that they have been involved. There are several issues and instances that they themselves have been so much involved and delved into those Galamsey issues. So if we are fighting Galamsey, there's supposed to be a holistic approach to fight those Galamsey, and you should not take the unfortunate incident of some chiefs who are into Galamsey in our own constituency, trying to put the MP into a situation where the public will see that the MP is the person who is doing this Galamsey.
All right, thank you. Thank you for those thoughts. I'll just wrap with some headlines and that's it. MP calls for police reinforcement to combat menace. The menace here is armed robbery in his constituency, Atibubu Amante. I'm talking about the NDC's Member of Parliament, Sanja Nanja, who was called on the IGP to swiftly beef up the police personnel in the area. EU leaders congratulate CDU and Friedrich Merz. First offers of congratulation are trickling in for the German center-right. That's monumental in Germany. 2 on trial. You might find this interesting. 2 on trial for attempt to harm Zambia's president through witchcraft. And for those of us who are students of law, you know, you can't prove spirituality in court, so sometimes it becomes problematic. And this one, though, nothing to laugh about. 2 stories. Sudan's army makes key advances after RSF signs political charter, and 7,000 killed this year in Congo conflict. And that issue becoming really, really bad. Let me come to you, Osei Kofi, for, if you have any quick thoughts, and then we'll start with your papers.
Okay, so first of all, let me go to the Congo. It is sad that after all these years and the legacy of Patrice Lumumba and others, the Congo is embattled in this. I don't know whether it's a civil war or it's a genocide. You know, it's unacceptable. And hands have been pointing at the, what do you call it?
Rwanda.
Rwandan president, that's Kigali. Paul Kagame. And I think that African Union should do something about it. This was the reason why Kwame Nkrumah wanted a united Africa, so that, you know, we can resolve some of these things internally. Because sometimes you realize that the people who weaponize these rebels and these soldiers and all that are foreigners, okay, who are warlords, and then they benefit from this loot and all that. So I think that African Union and leadership, I mean, I'm addressing this to President Mahama, should, you know, take it and champion the whole thing, because it was Ghana who decided that Africa must unite. And I think that now that he is in power, he can champion that. Now, let me go to Sana Niger, calling for police reinforcement to combat armed robbery. You know, we seem to have accepted that impunity is all right. Okay, look at the issue of Galamsey that we were talking about. You know, it's now becoming political. It was the NPP and MPs, the NDC people and all that. But the point is that at a point in time, there was a committee set up by a president. And then the leader of the committee wrote a report. We've all read the report. It was damning. And that report pointed fingers at most of the members of the government in power. Okay? Now, let me go to this armed robbery thing. The Ghana Police Service are supposed to provide internal security. And as far as I'm concerned, I mean, we have the police posts in most parts of the country, including Atebu Amantin.
Right.
So, is the police inefficient? Is that what is happening? Are they outnumbered by the armed robbers? I want to understand. And this is where I appeal to the IGP. Visibility is not enough. When we were growing up, policing had much to do with picking intelligence. People in plain clothes, CID people, and you shiver when they decide to make arrests, because by then they have intel from top to down as to who is involved with what and who has to be arrested.
I don't think that has stopped, has it?
It has.
The level.
It has. That is why the Galamsey is going on. It has. It has. That is why this armed robbery is going on. Imagine that we decide to do more of intel policing, okay? And people decide that, okay, they will infiltrate the Galamsey gangs, okay? And they know who is bringing the excavator, who is the sponsor, who's what, and they decide to effect arrest. You'll be surprised the kind of arrest that will be done.
I think we get the thrust of it.
Yes. So what I'm saying is that the police should give us assurance, okay, that when it comes to security, they're up to the task, and that we can sleep in peace. If this thing festers, then people decide to kind of, decide to protect themselves, and it won't go well.
Let's briefly look at the papers. Please, let's be very brief, succinct, straight to the point.
No problem. So
look at the headlines first,
yes,
and then you quickly get into one or two stories maximum. So let's start with you.
I'll do one here. So minority queries Mahama persecution of opponents.
So that's the Daybreak newspaper.
Yeah, Daybreak newspaper. And then the minority caucus in parliament has accused the Mahama government of misusing the state institution to persecute and intimidate members of the previous government and the NPP. And they call it a witch hunt. You see, this is what I have to say about this. If you are a witch, note that if you're a nuisance to society, then definitely you'll be hunted. That one has to be agreed.
But we have to be careful with these terminologies, because the context of it. We have the anti-witchcraft bill.
No, I'm not talking about witchcraft in that. Okay, so in context.
I understand what you mean.
In context.
But for those who
okay, so fine. So
because
in
there are people who have
in context. Yes, of course, the Gambara witchcraft campaign and all that. So, okay, so in context, what we are saying is that if you decide to loot this country, if you were given a job to do and you haphazardly and shabbily did it, and took salary for it, and it is a day to account for it. Definitely, you can't hide behind the fact that because you are opposition political party, you are being hunted. That one will not be accepted. Okay. In the same vein, I'm also not happy with the way the National Investigation Bureau, NIB, is being used to, I want to use a word, okay? I don't know if you are kidnap people. All right? Yes.
That's a strong word.
Well, but that's what it is, okay? For example, the issue of Professor Ame Akinfui.
Yeah.
You understand? Look at how he speak up. His lawyer did not know his whereabouts. His family did not know his whereabouts. But what is even the modus operandi of the NIB? They are supposed to do investigation.
Right.
And find facts, evidence and witness, and then submit it to the Ghana Police Service to effect arrest. So on what basis do we pull up a Land Cruiser and then all of a sudden you are gone? Now it's become very scary. So I don't even know, next time you buy Wachi from the Wachi joint and all of a sudden and I will pull over.
They can invite you over.
And that is where I was coming to. Okay? So if the NIB feels that somebody has misappropriated some funds or has conducted him or herself, the best thing they do is that they write to you formally, inviting you for a conversation. Okay. And when you are going, you pick up your lawyer, like I have, my own brother, Ibasamankwai here, and then he escorts me to the NIB. Okay. And then they ask me whatever question they have. And then I'm in consultation with my counsel, okay, I give them the answers that I have. Of course, now that, look at how they adopted him, okay? I mean, how they arrested him. If they were looking for a document, did Prof have that document with him at the time he was being taken? And so what was the point? Okay, so in as much as I believe that people must be held accountable for whatever position they were given and then expenditure and all that, I think that the NIB is becoming very funny in its
right. Thank you for those thoughts.
So we look at it.
Evans, any quick thoughts on that before we look at one paper from you?
You see, when it comes to my brother Osekufi, sometimes it's thoughts on issues. Are you saying that the NIB does not have the powers to invite somebody?
I don't think he said that.
I didn't say that.
I'm coming. And when interrogations are ongoing and things they are not done, don't they have the right to put you in custody till they finish their investigations? But there's a timeline on the number of hours that they have.
Mr. Amankwa, you're a lawyer. You're fully aware of the fact that the law, and you see, I'm not saying that I'm always cautious about these. I'm not saying the NIB is in the wrong in terms of wanting information or thinking that per its investigation someone has done something wrong and maybe ought to be invited. But we also have to get to the point where certain processes are followed without creating unnecessary fear and panic.
Thank you.
People are family people.
Yes.
You get it? Mm-hmm. Look at the Kenoforiata instance, for example. If something wrong has been done, and I'm not saying he's whistle clean, but if something wrong has been done, though that was not the NIB, that was the OSP, there are mechanisms to follow rather than, some creation of fear and panic and all of that. If you want to invite the person, there are processes. And the person comes with his or her.
But since why don't we stick to the
I'm boxing both of them together.
My brother, I don't get it. You see, when issues that deals with criminality, if you are invited for criminal, it is impersonal. It's not about your lawyer. That is what I have been saying. When Ken Oforiatta was instructing that you have to talk to my lawyers. It is about criminality. When it is about criminal issues, it's not your lawyer. It is impersonal. It is about you. And you have to answer. It is after you have been invited and you are there.
Those criminal issues, even for murder, you still have a right to counsel, don't you?
You have right to a counsel. But that does not mean that you instruct that you have to deal with my lawyer. When your attention is what is needed.
Okay, so that's the angle. That's
exactly. So that is what we all need to.
You're satisfied with how the NIB invited Professor Yao?
No, let me be sincere and honest with you. I've been a person who have been advocating for the issue of politics of equalization to be abolished. That during somebody's time, I mean, we need to move forward. Yeah. So once we all agree that the country needs to move forward, we need to be magnanimous about the things that we do so that we won't set bad precedent about the things that people did and we spoke against them. So we need to do our things differently because we are resetting Ghana. And by resetting Ghana, it means that Ghana needed to be reset in such a way that people will appreciate the conduct of state institutions. And that is what I believe in. Now, let me take a funny story here about NPP.
That's the Hawk newspaper, right?
Yes, Hawk newspaper. NPP began blame for Ashanti vote disaster. They said Akufo-Addo
Have you read the story?
Yes, I've read the story.
Can you give us just a little bit of what the story says?
Is that a report?
It's a report.
Yes. I just want for the sake of
No, all that they are saying is that NPP lost the election, especially their votes in Ashanti region reduced because of certain things and the kind of behavior that was exhibited by some of their leaders. They said Akufo-Addo was arrogant, Ken's explosive rants.
So when it says Ken, don't mistake me for that's Kennedy Japol.
Kennedy Japol. Right. Kennedy Japol's explosive rant, Untumi's good stance and Napos Nkrumah Gafi.
That was a very big gaff.
You see, let me be sincere and honest with you, my brother. All these things they are saying contributed to largely maybe the whole Ghana. But when it comes to Ashanti region, we are from Ashanti region and we were in Ashanti region. We know what we did in Ashanti region. We realized that in Ashanti region, the numbers that were coming for MPP in various elections were not normal. And for that matter, we need to be very vigilant. So it was NDC's and we in Ashanti region's vigilance that culminated to that disaster they are talking about. It's not about their arrogance and anything. In any elections, anybody who is contesting an election needs to be very vigilant. And that is what NDC did in Ashanti region. I disagree with you on that. No, you can disagree with me. That is your opinion. Because we were vigilant. Let me tell you something. We were able to intercede on some ballot papers that were going to be used. We got those ballot papers.
Notice of poll that you showed to us on TV.
I don't think I need to listen to what they're saying.
So I want to believe you've landed.
No, I've not landed. What I'm trying to say is that there were a lot of things that MPP planned in doing in Ashanti region. But for the fact of our vigilance, they could have executed.
And you have evidence to that effect?
Of course. Of course. We intercepted over 500,000 ballot papers.
Oh, that one. But, yes. But I thought the Electoral Commission had given explanations on the use of that.
What kind of explanation was that?
Oh,
what kind of explanation was that? That Jane Mensah giving explanation about interception of 500,000 ballot papers?
That for the first time, Ghanaians were not happy with the conduct of the NPP.
No.
And it was nationwide associate. And Ashanti region.
What I'm trying to say.
Because if you do this,
you
have had elections since 1982.
Listen. Please, can I finish? Right. What you see? When I started.
30 seconds. No, let's do this.
When I started this whole thing, I told everybody that Ghanaians were dissatisfied with this whole attitude.
So it's just an add-on to.
But Ashanti region, there was an extra vigilance that came on the part of NDC.
Okay.
To the fact
without
that
which you wouldn't have got the.
Exactly. Right. Because so many people. Let me tell you something.
Thank you.
Let me land here. So many prominent people, Marietta Brew, Amy Fahad Castle, so many prominent people had to stop voting in their various polling stations and come to Ashanti region to mine.
It has been done before. Right. In 2020,
did it happen? No, it did not.
I was there. I am there with you in the Ashanti region.
No, why?
Okay?
No, why?
You came there, you set up a campaign. You
Ashanti region in.
You did nothing different from what you've been doing over the years.
No. You are getting it wrong. In 2020, there was no such thing.
See,
and again, in 2020.
I'm drawing attention to this is that I don't want you to be complacent, okay?
It's not complacent.
You've got fortunes in Ashanti region in the last elections. Don't say because of our vigilance and following.
Please hold for me. Let's do this. I am the moderator here.
Yes.
Allow me to moderate.
Headmaster, yes.
No, it's not headmaster.
Headmaster. You can call me senior housemaster.
No. We'll call you my lord. We'll call you my lord.
Don't lord me. Doc, your quick thoughts. If you have any reflections before we go to the overseer.
I think with all these issues, I'm not even going to. I don't like add more weight to it by adding my voice, because I think most people are aware of what happened. I was actually on the grounds with their observers as well. I don't think they did anything out of this world. We were there from start to finish. You go and put ballot boxes, papers in a room, and you call the media to go with you to look at it. Before you get there, you know there are 500,000. I mean, we are not children. Let me go straight to
but hold there. So are you alleging? Are you suggesting?
I'm alleging
that the NDC?
Yes, because we had no such plan. So you think we are that incompetent?
And yet, please, gentlemen, hold for me. And yet, the Electoral Commission came through with the responses it did on that matter. It was the NDC that went and supposedly
I was in
Kumasi.
I was in Kumasi.
I think that's the Joseph Yamin
matter. I was in Kumasi for the election. We were so focused on other things, and I can tell you for a fact that that 500,000, it was a sham orchestrated by only they know who it is.
Okay.
We had no part in that, and you think we are that incompetent that if we are printing ballot papers, Joseph Yamin will know where it is in Kumasi. Please, let me continue.
But is that suggest that
the people that you hold?
No, listen, that was not even part of it. And if we wanted to do it, we'll keep it in a house there, and you will come with the media before you enter. You know how many ballot papers are there? Wow. Let me just continue. Right. The observer.
But what if you're coach pants down?
So credibility and fairness. Overseer, sorry. The conversation is too much. President Mahama to appoint NDC regional organizers as presidential staffers. Okay, more jobs for the boys. Lands Minister declares war on mining in forest and water bodies. Stop press. NIB to invite Fremo Opari's children, Nana Osei Opari and Nanaya Sewa Opari, for questioning on undocumented mining concessions. Finance Minister denies authorizing payments to Kennedy Japan. 1.7 billion needed to complete Agenda 111 hospitals, President John Mahama. That's something that I'm very interested in, because my immediate past role was the spokesperson on health for the NPP. So I am very vested in issues of health, because I took my job very, very seriously. President John Mahama has revealed that only one hospital under Agenda 111 has been completed, with an estimated 1.7 billion required to finalize the remaining facilities. I think, was it on 5th December or so, the former president, His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo, commissioned 3 hospitals, one in Trede, one in Ofoikom, and one in Ahanta West. That's well documented. The press was there. He went inside these facilities. I have pictures here of theater.
You also went to Sewa, that one, Sewa Hospital.
We are not talking, we're talking about Agenda 111. Okay. So if you want, we can expand the conversation.
We'll expand it.
Don't worry.
So helps us.
Yes, so we have pictures of the setup, everything that happened in there. So I think this attempt of trying to reduce the bar before you take over is something that should not be countenanced. There's a lot happening in the health sector. I've already noted a few this morning. There's numerous outbreaks, cholera here, meningitis there. We need these hospitals completed. And for somebody that's the UGMC that the NDC likes to pride themselves about all the time, you started in 2012. You actually did not finish before you left office. When you left office, the NPP government came in, and then we completed the UGMC and operationalized it. Dr. Darius was saying...
What are you talking about?
In 2016, it was not completed.
It was completed.
What level of completion was
it? Was about 95. I'm going to give that to you.
And that is exactly the point I wanted to make.
I'm going to give it to you.
95+%. And in fact, it took calls of the media, calls of even the university community, and a number of entities. And I do admit, if you go to the UGMC, there's one block, I believe, that was added by...
Yes, that's the phase 2.
His Excellency Nana Addo Akufo-Addo. But everything else that you see there was practically
done
there was no, before 2017. There was
no power. Was it open? No. There's the same thing about these 3 Agenda 111 hospitals. It hadn't been operationalized. Having a hospital building there, then you can say Sewa is...
I was also about to get to that. The state of these 3
we will come there. We will come there. We'll come. There are videos of this. The media, I don't know if Joy FM was represented. Please let me know.
The hospital is called a hospital when you have the shell, the building, when you have the equipment,
the staff,
when you have the staff, And when you have connectivity to electricity,
when you
everything is working.
and then
I can walk into that hospital.
Did not have, UGMC did not have electricity when we took over. There was still a lot of work to be done. Please, I have all the documents to prove it, so don't interrupt me.
Please, gentlemen.
But I'll
allow you to come in.
And I don't, it's not the NPP that decides a project that is 90. There are contractors and there are a lot of consultants involved in this thing. So we came and we made sure that was done and we operationalized it. In fact, the first CEO of UGMC was able to bring it to the standard that we now experience. Dr. Darius was saying, I was there with him throughout the whole thing. So UGMC story, please don't try and, we came with it, whatever we inherited, we finished it and we operationalized it and now it's open. You've come, finish
Someone
it.
did 95+%. You came and did the rest.
The 5%.
You see, it's
no,
not
so
to
what is the problem
hold for me. It's not to denigrate the 5%, because if you left it at the 95%,
you could, it wasn't in use.
Why was it left at 95%? Don't forget, it was because there was a change of government.
But Agenda 111 is not a change of government.
But the point I'm making is, we need this continuity. Governance is a continuum.
Exactly.
We shouldn't do this thing about
Ben. Exactly.
But those 3 hospitals you referenced were not operational.
Nobody has said we hadn't operationalized them, but they were complete. They are theater beds in these hospitals. It's something that you just have to come and operationalize, just like we did UGMC. And for somebody that's in your term that you had Agenda 111 started in 2022, something everybody conveniently tries to forget. Besides that, we completed 47.
No one forced you to complete the 111.
Yes,
you said you would.
I think, so, and that I have admitted that maybe our timelines might have been a little ambitious, because looking at the history of Ghanaian hospitals, no hospital has been completed in even under 4 years. During the first President Mahama government, the Eurojet hospitals he started, he couldn't complete. For Mina and Kumewu, he started himself, and NMS, he couldn't complete. Right. So many hospitals he started himself, more than 8 years, couldn't complete. We came, we completed all those.
Did not do those works in 8 years.
We did not.
So can we take a bite now?
So we came.
No, can we take a bite now?
Hold me, gentlemen. If you do this and I get to the end in a few minutes and I say you can't speak anymore, don't.
Anyway, fine.
Don't. Okay. We have limited time. I need you to wrap on this.
Okay, sure. So my point is that when we came, there were a lot of projects that we took over and very steadily finished, completed. Bekwa, I've named so many of you. We started and completed over 47, which we all have evidence of. Agenda 111, about 30 of them at over 70% levels of completion. I have personally toured some of these facilities. The one in Garu, the day we went there, you should have seen the excitement on the faces of the chiefs there, because now they have a facility in their own district and they don't have to travel miles, and pregnant women don't have to die on their way to hospital.
So your point has been made. I just want to, since you're a health person, do you feel sometimes with all of these hospitals, all of these projects we want to box into, a few years, and you've spoken about the practicality of it, could we have done better? Look at Kolebu. Kolebu needs a lot of work to be done. Even the UGMC needs quite a bit to advance. A lot of foreigners go there. Could we have not done 111, but maybe done, say, 20, and done them so well? Because Kolebu is a hub of medical tourism for us. Could we have done that instead of this bit about you start, you end at 75%, you end at 40%, you end at 50%? Money has been sunk in with no guarantees per how we operate of the next government. Why do we do this?
With issues of health, it's quite sensitive, and it's a sector that requires...
Straightforward answers.
Yeah, I'm going to try and be as straightforward as it is. You cannot just build hospitals like Kolebu, especially for the scale of Ghana. I was just telling you...
I'm not necessarily saying like Kolebu.
Yeah, I'm just saying...
scale down.
We did... I'm saying that we did build about 26 district hospitals. So those are like Agenda 111-like hospitals, between 70 and 100 bed hospitals dotted around the country. But what we realize is that the problem with Kolebu, UGMC, Konfanochi, and all the big hospitals is congestion, because we don't have access to smaller hospitals, to people to go for smaller things. So it was all about decongesting these bigger hospitals. Right. And after that, you can then spend money to upgrade them.
All right. Evans.
See, when it comes to issues of...
And please, for the sake of time, brief, straight to the point. Let's go.
Don't do that.
I'm sorry.
You're not being fair.
You realize that at the outset, I allowed you to talk so much. It is what it is. So please go ahead.
No, you see, what will come to the development of this nation in relation to the health sector. And you realize the NPP is trying their best to equate their performance to that of NDC. It gives me some,
we did better.
It gives me some level of.
She says they are not equating. They feel they did better.
You see, you are trying to.
That.
You see, you are trying to push that.
I was hoping it was head.
You see, NPP did not do anything when it comes to the health sector.
That's not true.
Nothing.
See, what did they do? Your so-called Agenda 111. You could not even complete one for it to be operational.
I told you all the other projects.
Please, can I finish? You see, can I finish?
Go ahead.
She could not name one hospital that was fully completed and operational for 8 years.
47.
For 8 solid years.
I said I can give you 47.
47.
I can give you. I can list 47 for you.
I do not want you to interrupt.
You can't do. Your Agenda 111 is what you started.
I'm telling you, Agenda 111 was in 2022. Are you saying that before Agenda 111 we did?
So 47 hospitals.
The Bekwai hospital. That is.
Was it the Bekwai? Was it your project?
You see, I'll try, but I don't want you to mislead the people.
You see, on record. You see,
Evans, go ahead.
On record. NPP did not begin any hospital for the past 8 years and complete 7.
That is a lie.
On record.
That is a lie. That is a lie.
There's no hospital in this country.
That is a lie.
That we can say that NPP started and completed 7.
Evans, hold for me. Hold for me. Let me do this.
Yes.
Doc, name 3.
Bogoso. There's this.
Bogoso what?
District Hospital. Manson Kwanta District Hospital. Let me just pull up the nice list for you. And you as media, you can verify.
And the
Akontombra, if I remember.
Right?
They're operational.
Is it Bogoso what?
They're operational. Let me find it for you.
No.
Manson Kwanta District Hospital.
As for the Manson Kwanta, I can vouch for.
Yes.
You can vouch for what?
These are hospitals. I have documents from the Ministry of Health for every project you did. The ones we inherited from you that we completed. But you've been going on with this lie to the people of Ghana. NPP has not built any hospitals. How does that even sound plausible to you? You think the civil servants in the Ministry of Health, they don't do anything?
Hold for me, Doc.
Was it no? Were you the people who began the Manson Kwanta District Hospital and completed?
Yes.
You see, that is
we started and completed.
That is not true. Oh. I am from Ashanti region and I go to Manson Kwanta often.
No, so provide evidence to the contrary, or let's stop this.
No, that is not true.
Because you said so, it's not good enough. Provide evidence.
No, but what is your evidence?
You can't just Google the hospital.
You have said that you have completed 7.
All right.
What is your evidence?
You see, I severed some ties with a very a former uncle of mine. Let me say that. Okay, political uncle of mine, because I criticized how the health sector was being handled. Okay. See, before the NPP came to power, and then decided to back on
everything we've done. I'm ready to provide it to the media so that we can put these lies to bed.
Which one?
Dr. Macron, don't do that. I mean, because
it's from the Ministry of Health.
Benjamin has protected you for
you have done
far too long.
It's not I've done myself. It's from the Ministry of Health.
It's from the Ministry of Health today. So what I'm trying to say is that when the NPP came to power, there were some hospital projects that were started by the NDC, okay, and they were near completion, and they were abandoned. And I quite remember putting a word into this media engagement that I think that certain hospitals like Tepa, Sewua, Afari should be given the full attention and then complete it, because after all, it's a taxpayers' money. And because Agenda 111 has been proposed, okay, somebody got angry with me. Somebody I was very close with, and he does be very tough to me these days. Okay, very angry with me that why are you saying that? We need to also build our own legacy, and then at the end of the day, so that Dr. Mako will come and say that look at Agenda 111, we did A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and all that. You see, the point is that first of all, let's not trivialize our health sector.
Can we put those on?
Don't truncate.
When she was let's put something. No, let's put something on record.
I don't give you time to react.
Okay, so
thank you.
So let's not trivialize and petty when it comes to our health sector. I mean, we're talking about the health of this country, all right? And for the record, it is the funds of the citizens of Ghana, indeed, which is being used to put up all these hospitals. So it doesn't matter who is what and what. We decide when we need a hospital, okay? And then when that hospital is started, it doesn't matter who is in power. Once it is for the benefit of Ghanaians, somebody must complete it.
Okay.
It doesn't matter who.
Point
yes.
made. Your point is made.
But I'm not done. Okay, so the health setup, I won't go there. Okay. Now let me go to the children of the former.
So that'll be your final word.
Yes, the children of chief of staffs who are being invited for some sort of conversation. Right. Okay. Now
the mining related.
Yes. Right. I really want to see how this ends. Okay, because if the head of all government appointees, okay, and who which includes the Minerals Commission and all that, okay, have children who decide to do things off the book, I'll be surprised. So I'm not alluding or accusing anybody, but I'm saying that I would like to see how this conversation ends.
All right.
Because then it will give us a lot of opportunity to interrogate the ex-Wa Akufo-Addo government.
All right, thank you.
And certain licenses and
Evans,
certain opportunities that will
Evans,
interest people.
Quick thoughts.
You see,
you have you have about
4. She indicated to people of Ghana and your viewers that NPP started the Contobra Hospital and completed same. It's a total lie. And your evidence
is
your producer NDC started it, and your producer can fact check same. I said the Contobra Hospital.
When did you start it?
Check it.
When?
NDC started.
So
put it on record.
Which year exactly?
NDC started in 2015, 2016, and could not complete same, and they came to complete it. Go and check it. They did not start it. Please, I want this one to be fact-checked.
What about
so that we see.
I'm just going to say this.
I'm talking about a contemporary.
So your point is made.
So let's check it so that we'll realize who is lying to the people of this country.
One problem we have, though, and sometimes even for us media people, it is a bit of a difficulty. I think we need to get to the point where, though we have the ministries and all that, there has to be a way of tracking. You know, that there was the Obameter, for example, for Barack Obama, of tracking everything. Because sometimes you can't even rely on the information coming from a specific ministry because of which party has been in power at a time. And then we get into this game where the NDC will say this, the NPP will say that. And it has happened many times, where an administration starts something, another one continues and claims it is ours. From both ends, different ways.
Ben, so
you have the final word, and then we are done.
So I am looking at...
You've not given me my final word.
Come on, Benji.
But that was your final word you took.
I am looking at
the final word I was
the ministry register from the Ministry of Health. In December 2019, we went for a loan from the Vamed Engineering GM something co KG. December 2019 for five hospitals in the Western region: Akontomra, Elubo, Bogoso, Mpoho, Nsuyem, and Wasadumwa.
Hold for me. What's the source of this?
This is Ministry of Health contracts register. So it wasn't even for political purpose. Contracts register. I have the contract register from 2000 till today. This is the contract.
From 2000.
Yes, different documents. Yes, but this is
the
just
Ministry of Health.
Yes, this is just 2024.
No, clarify. Take your time.
Yes.
Ministry of Health.
Ministry of Health contracts register February 2020.
Can it be forwarded?
I'll forward it. Updates on infrastructure. Right. I'm telling you, this was my job.
Gentlemen,
I took that from 2000.
Will be continued.
The fact that
we got the money for
those who joined us for this conversation, Evans Amankwa is a lawyer and member of the NDC's communications team. Dr. Eki Amwako is with the communications directorate of the NPP. Osei Kofi Akwa is with the CPP's communications team. We take a breather. We'll be back on the AM show. Do stay.
The Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, together with the Ashanti Regional Minister, Dr. Frank Amwakohene, and the Regional Security Council toured the Ofin Shelter Belt at Anyuafutu in the Atramamponua district. Addressing the media at the site, Emmanuel Amakofibua described the devastation of the forest reserves by the illegal miners as comparable to 7,500 football pitches.
been reliably informed that roughly 30 hectares is gone. If you add it to the devastation in the other 44 forest reserves, we are talking about 7,500 football fields that has been destroyed. So when you see this devastation at the heart of the Ofin River, which takes its source from here, what few of our own people are doing to us is that they have come to basically kill us where it matters most.
The minister said the journey of reclaiming destroyed lands has already started. According to him, some persons arrested for destroying the forest will face the law.
Here was very successfully executed. We've driven out, arrested the thugs who have determined to kill all of Ghana. We have seized over 15 excavators. Those you see here are damaged and cannot be moved. We are taking steps to make sure we secure that. Just this past weekend as well, working with the police, we took over another group of thugs on the Ankobra River. We've arrested 7 Chinese and 8 of their Ghanaian accomplices.
Mr. Kofebo has called for public support in the fight against Galamsey.
People who are taking over this forest reserve were armed to the teeth. We just saw in the Amenfi area how Galamseyers, even in the face of police presence, attacked CTFM reporters. This must underscore how deadly this fight is. And that's why we began by calling on the people of Ghana to join us in this fight.
For Joy News, my name is Clinton Yeboah.
With regards to the issues you raised, Galamsey is a major headache for all of us. It's estimated that currently about 1.8 million of our compatriots are involved in small-scale mining. And that creates a big issue with regards to issues of employment and displacement, you know, from small-scale mining. Small-scale mining is legal, and our laws recognize it. But it must be done in a responsible and sustainable manner. We have about 280 forest reserves in this country, and the ones that are affected are about 43. And so we did one operation in the Tano Nimiri forest reserves, and we've gotten the excavators and things out. And so they're going to target another one, the worst ones, and then we'll take them one by one and get the people out. I've told them not to burn the excavators, they should confiscate them. We'll also have a mobile team so that in case they try to incurse again and the forestry people cannot handle, they'll call the mobile team to run in and go and give them reinforcement.
Speaker, the impact of illegal mining on our water bodies, which is the second phase, is critical and equally alarming. Normal turbidity levels for water under treatment should not exceed 500 NTU. However, the current turbidity levels of these water systems are between 5,000 and 12,000 NTU. These water bodies are also contaminated with toxic chemicals such as cyanide, mercury, hydrocarbons, and used recklessly by these illegal miners.
Welcome back. You're still watching the AM show on Joy News. Let's discuss the fight against Galamsey. Because we know that 7,500 football pitches of forest reserves, that's the extent of devastation to our forest reserves through the activities of illegal mining, popularly known as Galamsey. Now, from burning of excavators to seizures, and talk about alternative livelihoods, can this existential threat be really cured? Our panel are here to deal with the vexed matters. Joining us in studio this morning, Daryl Bosu. He is Deputy National Director of Arocha Ghana. And in the course of the conversation, we'll also speak to Samuel Osei-Bekwe, and he's Executive Director, Center for Extractives and Development Africa, as well as Awula Sewa, the Coordinator, Eco-Conscious Citizens. Welcome to the program, Daryl.
Good morning.
Thank you very much for having me.
Well, I would like to take your quick reflections on the state of the fight against Galamsey, but let me put this in perspective. We know that there are 288 forest reserves in total. The Minister of Lands and Natural Resources was telling us that 44 out of these are under siege by illegal miners, and 9 out of the 44 have completely taken over, and they don't have the capacity to even enter and fight these illegal miners. Put that in as part of your reflections for us this morning, and let's talk about the state of the fight.
Yes, I mean, to start with, I need to say that, yes, this information out there seems very grim, but we've known about this for a long time. I mean, civil society have been drawing the attention of government for a long time. We recall, I mean, sometime in 2023, where the former Minister for Lands, they talk about the fact that the ecological integrity of Ghana's forest reserves are intact. We actually challenged him. And also in Azerbaijan, the former president was talking about how much we've done in terms of restoration and all of that. And even there, we also acknowledge the fact that more than 35 forest reserves were actually severely impacted by Galamsey. And anytime these issues have come up, I think we ignore the fact. And so for me, it's not surprising to hear this thing coming and the information coming. But I think it's also a time for us to reflect seriously, because it is now dawning on all of us. Because the state itself is admitting that there is something wrong. And even they talk about the forest reserve, I'm telling you, it's not just the 44 forest reserves that are severely impacted.
It's more.
It's more than 44 forest reserves. I mean, you go to most forest reserves, there's some level of illegal mining activities going on. Maybe these ones are the ones that are severely impacted. And now, as they have said also, 9 of them they don't have access to, because there are all of these guys who are running the Galamsey activity armed to the teeth, and sometimes even the forestry officers can't do anything about it. So it really tells you, and I need to put this on record, that the previous government was very misrepresented facts, and they were not very direct with citizens, and they consistently told a lot of untruth regarding what was really happening to our forest reserves. And this, for me, is very important for us if we are to move forward, looking at dealing with Galamsey as it is now.
Okay, before Ben comes in, let's go to Awula Sewa for her quick remarks, initial remarks also. But just an update on what you're saying about misrepresentation. We know that the Minerals Commission has updated its records, revealing that 318 mining-related licenses were commenced in the final week of former President Nana Akufo-Addo. We thought, initially we reported that it was 102. But the figures have been revised, so we know that it's now 318, which means as we speak, active mining licenses stand at 2,246. Awula Sewa, welcome to the program. Let's take your initial remarks on the state of the fight against Galamsey, and then Ben will come in.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me. I mean, as my brother Daryl put it, nothing has changed in the sense that we've known about this. It's not a new thing. We know the state of affairs. We know that there's a war going on, because what the illegal miners have done is to declare war against Ghanaians. When you are poisoning water bodies, it's a war crime. Even in wartime, you cannot poison water bodies. We know about the destruction of our forest reserves. My concern is that this has been going on for a very, very long time. Even if the previous administration was economical with the truth and withheld information, we knew that there was a bad situation. It could be worse, but we knew there was a bad situation. So I'm a bit perplexed as to what is taking the present administration so long to begin to robustly deal with the demands. The CSOs and others made certain demands. One of them was a state of emergency. And by the state of emergency, we mean well equipping our forces, because some of the illegal miners, as has been said, are armed to the teeth and have been able to repel some armed responses. Going to the forest reserves, removing the forest, the environmental terrorists and their equipment, and then also going after the owners of the equipment, because what is your equipment doing in our forest reserve? And we said to repeal LI 2462. It's most disappointing that we are still talking about repealing it, but as far as I'm aware, it has not been done yet. This is an indictment. We've also asked for a pause in community mining, because we know that a lot of it is unregulated. They are giving the license and nobody's checking, are they digging at the right place? Do they even have a digging license? So there are so many things we've asked for. They haven't yet been done. So although one can say it's early days, I would say it's not early days. When there's a war going on, when your house is burning, the first thing you try to do is to put out the fire. Then later on, you can find out how did the fire start, who were responsible. But the first thing you need to do is to put out the fire. The war is ongoing, and I'm not seeing robust steps being taken to put out the fire or to stop the war.
Right. Ben.
Let me just check whether we have Samuel Osei Bekwe with us. Mr. Bekwe, a very good morning to you. Thank you for joining the conversation.
Thank you. Good morning to viewers and Ghanaians.
And of course, he is Executive Director, Center for Extractives and Development Africa. When you look at where we find ourselves in terms of dealing with illegal mining, from last year getting into this year, the talk about not enough is being done, and now the directives of Mr. President, what do you see? Are we making any gains?
Let me just say that there have been, I would say, the fact that government had, constituted a committee to advise them on the way forward. The next thing is yesterday we saw the Minister of Lands telling everybody that it is only the president that can call him. Meaning if any of the people they have arrested are relieved, it means the president may have called him to relieve them. So it is a very good statement we've heard from them, but it is not enough, we've said. Let me give you some instances that may be beneficial, and if possibly, the government could also take on as well. The government, the political will we need in fighting Galamsey is supposed to be top-notch. We don't need president saying that if you want to be in my government, you cannot be involved in Galamsey. That is not enough. So we didn't need the previous government mention that I will put my presidency on the line. That didn't materialize. One thing I would suggest is there a possibility, aside the current demand for us to fight forest reserves and water bodies mining, which it is not under any law. All those mining, most of them, I'm saying most of them because some mines were given forest entry permit. That's why I'm saying that most of them are illegal. So in order for us to materialize the political will, we need to amend the law as quickly as possible. And not only amend the law, we need to amend the law and ensure that any government official, including politically appointed and government official from directorship and above, within the ministries, cannot own any concession. They cannot even go closer to concession. This example, I've worked in Malawi and Uganda, it is there. But that was to cure conflict of interest for people who work. But this is where we have come to. If we can get that particular law, it means when we arrest anybody and we're able to trace that person to a politically exposed person, then we have a law to deal with the politically exposed person because, one, it was even illegal. We have in the previous government, we have people who had said that I have a bigger person calling from office of the president or other big areas. We as CSOs, I have been on the ground. I have seen people being arrested and they have been from a bigger man. And without that particular commitment to ensure that people within government, people, politically exposed persons, which is not only people in government anyway, cannot own any concession. They cannot go closer to any of those. That one, we can say that the government is serious and the government wants to ban illegal mining or fight illegal mining. But let me also explain the state of emergency being called by most civil society and most people who are demanding for the fight against Galamsey. It's not, we are not saying we are banning small-scale mining. We are saying if you declare state of emergency, it will give a legal mandate. It will give a mandate to the police, to the law enforcement, that now this place is all state of emergency. So what are you doing here? Nobody should have a reason to be on river bodies trying to say we are mining.
Okay. Point
in
made.
as much as now, many people can go in there. That state of emergency would be very key to empower the law enforcement.
Right. Let me bring in Awula Sewa. Now, the committee, you say that practically you're not seeing much being done. This committee has been set up. The president has spoken on Galamsey. We were all talking about the president famously, or infamously, not having spoken about Galamsey, especially in the SONA and among others. But now that has happened, he's called for the seizure of excavators instead of burning them for the sake of evidence. And now the sector minister tells us we are looking at about 75 football pitches in terms of size of forest reserves that we are losing. But on the other end, you will ask which sane country will do what we are doing. The military, are we saying that these armed brigands are stronger than our military and our security services, that we can't cure this? Awula, what is your take on that?
Well, my take is that obviously we didn't see the war going on as something we needed to deal with immediately. I have compared it to a house burning. When your house is burning, the first thing you do is put out the fire. I mean, I'm tired of lamentations. Oh, so much of our forest reserves have been destroyed. Hello? That's not news. We've known it was going on. And that is why before the elections, in fact, the campaigns have been going on since 2017 or before. But during the run-up to the elections, that is why there were demands that were made. And if the current administration had taken it seriously, this is not the time to be setting up committees. But what I would say is that let's not forget that in parts of Latin America, there are no-go areas because the drug cartels have become so powerful and they are so well armed that they have made it no-go areas. We haven't yet reached that state. But yes, it's on record that some armed responses have been repelled by some of the armed environmental terrorists. That's why we're saying that let's stop talking. Let's immediately declare a state of emergency so that we can go into the forest reserves and begin to remove the illegal miners and their equipment. And let me also say this, as an environmentalist, I was against the burning of excavators. But what was told to us was that a lot of the time, the illegal miners immobilize the excavators. So you can't remove them. And when you can't remove them, later on when you've left, they come back and continue their work. That's why they were burning them. So if we are not to burn them, you need to have the systems in place, whatever you call them, low loaders, whatever machinery you need, to be able to put the excavators that have been immobilized onto the low loaders and then remove them from the forest reserve. And let's hope that they don't disappear, as some of them allegedly disappeared under the previous administration. But to answer your question, of course, some of the illegal terrorists, or shall I say environmental terrorists, are very well armed. They are armed to the teeth. So if you go there without having done some recce, you'll be overpowered. And we don't need that to happen because each time you are overpowered, you actually send a message that you cannot match the military strength of the illegal miners. And that's not what we want to do. And I would say that we've also asked for a pause in small-scale mining. And I don't think we can continue without the pause because we don't know those who are mining according to the regulations and those who are doing their own thing. And as we speak, I've received a call from Asem Krom, where apparently close to a police station, there's illegal mining going on whilst the police just look on. So we need to get our police well-equipped, the political authority well-equipped, and the chiefs willing to join the fight to protect the environment.
Well, that's quite a point, isn't it? Before I come back to you, sweetie. So right beside a police station, and we've heard funny stories of illegal mining going on by some chief's palace, right behind someone's. I mean, all of these are happening. Do you feel maybe in terms of the active licenses, and I feel the radical approach is what we should be taking. Do you feel maybe some of these licenses, like we say, 318 granted within a period of 6 days, were right before the Akufo-Addo administration left office? And I'm not necessarily blaming anybody. Do you feel we should maybe revoke some of these licenses, check on them and say, maybe you didn't get this the right way, we are revoking and all of that, as part of sanitizing the system?
Yeah, I think you are very right. There are several ways we can deal with this problem, and one of them has to do with the licensing regime. We were actually expecting that the government would even go on a strategy where they pause even issuing licenses, and even all licenses that are supposed to take effect from 2025, they bring all of that to a halt. Then we go and review them. I actually remember hearing either His Excellency or the minister talking about it, reviewing all licenses, really understanding which of them are close to rivers, which of them are in forest reserves, which of them are really on rivers or even overlapping rivers. And then we really cancel all of those, revoke all of those that need to be, and then we look at those that are really working really with the practices that are supposed to be legal. So I think that is very, very important. But so far, and that's our problem from the civil society, is that we've had more than a month since the government came to office. They've been able to activate oral. They even have reports, and they're even going around trying to already prosecute certain people. What has happened to all the things they said they would do about Galamsey? It is an existential threat, and we need to make sure that we really hit the ground running. Unfortunately, one of the things we're expecting was to really ensure that we ban some or we even pause some of these concerns, but unfortunately it's still ongoing. And to see that the minister is now going to some of these forest reserves, really leading some of these operational actions on the ground, it is good, but we need to make sure that all those working have been asked to cease work. Until we do that, we are just going to be doing bits and bits here, and we are not really going to get the results that we need.
I will have mentioned something about not supporting the banning of excavators. I just want to pick your thoughts on that before we move the conversation forward. The president is saying that when these excavators are seized, they will be used as evidence to track down who owns it so that we can prosecute them. But rightly so, we have a history of excavators getting missing under the previous administration. This new strategy, using these excavators to track down the perpetrators, how does it sit with you?
Well, for me, it is a good strategy. I mean, it's a good proposal. We need to understand that most of the law enforcement, they were banning these excavators because of the frustrations they themselves were confronted with. Like Awula said, you meet an excavator in a forest reserve, the operators know that you are coming to pick it, take it away, so they take out the motherboard, as you call it, and then so you're not able to move it. So the law enforcement agencies are now wondering, how do we demobilize this excavator completely? So they ban it. It was out of frustration. If the president is saying that, look, let's not ban, it's also a very good story. Actually, the law, Act 995, talks about confiscating equipment that is being used for illegal activity. What we need is a system to ensure that these equipment do not end up again in the hands of the same perpetrators. Like you said, we've had experiences and we don't want to repeat. I mean, the only thing that will make this fight succeed is that we don't repeat the mistakes of the past. We sent out Operation Vanguard, Operation Halt, the military were out there, they arrested thousands, if I should say, hundreds of illegal operators. But we're not able to prosecute these people. We arrested several Chinese people. You go to our court, you don't see the Chinese there, but you see Ghanaians wallowing in our prisons. We have started arresting some Chinese. We need to be reporting on what is happening to these people, not eventually they getting missing in the system. So I think that we need to make sure, if we want to succeed with this fight, we don't repeat the mistakes. I think what the committee should be doing is actually to putting together a checkbox. What did the previous administration do that did not work well? What we don't have to repeat. And then we use that as our indicator for success. Otherwise, we are bound to fail.
Let me bring Samuel in at this point. Samuel, so let's talk about alternative livelihoods as a way of fading out, illegal mining activities, because they say most of the young people who engage in illegal mining activities do so because there's no employment and they have no ways of making any sort of money. How does this look like from your perspective as a way of fixing the Galamsey menace, alternative livelihoods?
Thank you. Let me take you back a little bit. And under the previous government, there were alternative livelihood programs under the MDF Secretariat, the Mineral Development Fund Secretariat, under the Minerals Commission, and under the National Entrepreneurship Program. And then there was also a National Alternative Livelihood Program. Sorry, so not the National Entrepreneur, the National Alternative Livelihood, the NIELP. My investigation and my work showed that they were all doing the same thing, planting of oil palm seeds. And these were repetition of programs. Now, let me tell you what some of the youth had said. Whilst some of the areas got some people interested in the alternative livelihood, largely it was a failure. The youth informed them that they should go and tell the mining companies to go and plant oil palm before they come and tell them to plant oil palm. The key thing is, if economically, if the alternative livelihood it's not something that generates value compared to what they get from Galamsey, it may be very difficult for you to divert the youth attention. That I have to mention. And that is the evidence, including some even large-scale mining trying to conduct this evidence, and they found out that now let's work with them, cede off some of our concessions, and then work with them, buy them machines to work because they want to do mining. Let me take you back up on the alternative livelihood aspect. I personally do not see that the alternative livelihood would work to a success that we expect. It may work, we can get maybe 10%, 15% success, but we may not get to a success where we can divert the attention of the youth. Sometimes I want us to go to the ground and see the number of persons involved in illegal mining. These are massive numbers. It's not a million as the literature have said. These are over, I would say that the best estimate would be not less particular illegal mining. So alternative livelihood may be a challenge.
Okay.
Now I want to take you back and comment on what Darrell has said. I don't think...
Mr. Bekwe, if you can hear me, we lost you briefly. When you were mentioning the figure, we did not get the figure.
I was saying that my best guess in terms of persons involved in Galamsey, I don't have an evidence-based number, but my best guess based on the ground, I would say not less than 3 million people are involved in the day-to-day going into the forest or the Galamsey areas to work. There are many people involved in this particular thing. So alternative livelihood may not generate the level of success that we will be expecting it to generate. So that's what I would want to say. But I wanted to get back to what Darrell had mentioned. For me, I have visited some small-scale mining who have license, doing active and very, very responsible mining. I don't think pausing all those activities would be the best. I think that the first area, the first victim is the forest reserves and the water bodies. The Minerals Commission does not have any right to issue any license on forest on water bodies or forest reserve for small-scale miners. So it means anybody operating in these areas, operating like a small-scale miner, is operating illegally. So for me, that is why we are calling for a state of emergency on the water bodies and forest reserves. There is another thing I have to mention, and I think this went on under the previous administration, and it was about the LI that we are calling for a repeal. Not entirely the repeal, but there is a section in the LI that empowers the president to allow small scale. Do you know that a lot of the large-scale mining concessions issued in the forest reserve, most of them, I can say on authority, do not have the financial capacity to mine. Rather, they take these concessions, divide them into small scale, and distribute it to small scale miners to operate in the forest. And this is where our problem is, because we also have a loophole in our law. When you hold on to even a prospecting license, you can hold on almost forever. You just have to come and renew it. And so we need to put a stop to that in terms of part of the reforms that, let me disclose that I'm representing the civil society on the committee that have been set up. It's part of the reforms that I would also push for the committee to take as well. We need to have that particular thing in terms of the prospecting license. People cannot hold license forever and ever. And I think that should be one of the key things that we should push as well.
Well, thank you, Samuel. Darrell, I know you want to get a bite at this. He says that history has shown us that alternative livelihood programs may not work. What do you say?
Yes, I think that discussion is very, very important. And what I wanted to say is that we need to decouple the fight against Galamsey from the livelihood aspect. We tend to link the two. The thing is that there's an illegality going on. And I think that we need to marshal the forces, the state machinery, to deal with the illegality. And then we can also address the issue. Listen, there are lots of people in this country who are not employed. They are not getting into illegal activities. There is no excuse that we keep pushing the narrative that because the boys must eat, we should allow them some concession to be undertaking illegal activities, or even if you are going to clamp down on them, let's give a very sympathetic way, let's handle it very nicely. But I think that is where the problem is. Listen, I recall,
like rationalizing
exactly. I recall very well. Exactly, that's what we are doing. Yes, that's what we are doing. I recall this whole Galamsey thing started with some of the politicians way back in 2012, 2011, talking about the big companies are having a field day. Why not allow the boys close to you to also go in and eat? And it gradually escalated to a level where we can't even deal with it. Then from 2012, we had what you call a youth in mining, because the idea was that the big companies are having a lot to do. Let's allow our youth to also have some concessions. Now we have Galamsey, we can't even deal with it. So I think that there's an illegality. Let's prioritize the illegality and deal with it. Then we can deal with, and even the strategy that we've been promoting, these will not solve the problem. There are cocoa farmers who are also unemployed because of the miners. There are lots of people whose lives are also affected. I know rubber companies, the rubber company is affected now. People who are growing rubber are also affected. So you see that Galamsey, if you allow it to continue, is even creating more unemployment than we think that because of Galamsey, we can create some. It is not possible for any government to create jobs that will commensurate the economic benefit for mining. So that mentality of we creating jobs for people in mining, illegal mining, should be, we should even stop thinking about it. They are very totally different issues.
Right.
Yeah.
Ben.
I will start from Awula. LI 2462, and I was just about to get there. Mr. Bekwe has started it. How does it feed into this entire conversation we're having? And are there loopholes that we need to plug, like Mr. Bekwe made mention of, in terms of, for example, holding some of these licenses indefinitely? What is your reading?
My reading is that we should not review, we should revoke LI 2462 in its entirety, revoke it. Experts like Darrell will tell you why you need to revoke it. Some bits of it are inconsistent. We eco-conscious citizens are focused on Section 3.1, which allows mining in forest reserves, including globally significant biodiversity areas. But there are other aspects that are inconsistent. So don't review, repeal the whole thing. Then you have some sanity. And then I also want to go back to what Darrell said. He's absolutely right. When armed robbers are robbing your house, you're not going to say, let's go and find alternative employment for them. Let's separate the two. And when we're calling the figures, let's be absolutely clear that there are more people at risk of losing their livelihood as a consequence of illegal mining than people engaged in illegal mining. So let's change the narrative. We don't ban illegal mining. Illegal mining is a criminal offense. You don't ban criminal offenses. What you do is that you enforce the laws. So all you need to do is enforce the laws. No law permits anybody to mine in forest reserves. But let me just read parts of an email I received. And the person is saying, I recently took footage of police at Asemkrom watching over Galamsey activities by Chinese right by the road. This is not going to stop until the police are held accountable. So this information is out there, and I hope something is going to come out of this. We need enforcement, enforcement, enforcement. That is the beginning. And I'm absolutely clear that if we're not prepared to declare the state of emergency, we're not prepared to revoke LI 2462, we keep on having conversations. And then I think, was it Darrell who talked about the tick box, you know, so that we know what went wrong in the past and what we can look at. I believe a lot of these should be there already because we've been to so many consultations. Darrell and I were at one of the consultations. Recommendations were made. Let's not reinvent the wheel. Where are all these recommendations? It seems to me that we want to divert attention from the real problem by holding consultations upon consultations, meetings upon meetings. What has happened to the findings of the last consultations we had? We need to look for them and not reinvent the wheel. But having said that, I would say let's repeal LI 2462. Let's not go into reviewing, just repeal it. It's not fit for purpose.
A quick follow-up. Something I've heard from this administration in terms of some of the lethargy that maybe we're seeing in dealing with the problem is they say they don't want to start very quickly with something rhetoric. And the allusion is that the erstwhile administration spewed a lot of rhetoric and did not much in the fight. And so they want to get certain mechanisms in place before they take off. Does that wash with you?
No, it doesn't. You see, this illegal mining is nothing new. That's why I said I'm tired of the lamentation. Oh, so many forest reserves have been destroyed. Hello, we know that. And you know that in the run-up to the elections, I think one of our reporters, Ohimang Tewia, was badly beaten up. We know that for precisely highlighting what is going on. We know that Asare Donko and his team, Erastus, have been beaten up. So we knew what was going on. If it meant anything to us, all the time we're in opposition, would have put the systems in place. You don't have to be in government to know what you're going to do. So as soon as you win the elections and you are sworn into office, you hit the ball running. Right. But we haven't done that, and we're still having conversations upon conversation. I am frankly getting quite tired, but I'll say that the lands minister made some good points. Well, let's be gracious and see what is going to happen. I'm glad he said that the only person who can call him is the president. And up till now, I'm still waiting to find out what is being done about the NDC MP who is alleged to be involved in illegal mining. When he came to the mining company, I've forgotten the name, the president was quick to say that the company should pay the medical bills and so on and so forth. I'm surprised, maybe I missed it, but I haven't heard the president come up to say that, look, the MP is going to be investigated so that if he's found to be involved in illegal mining, he'll be prosecuted. That will send a strong message that unlike the previous administration, this government is interested in getting rid of the canker. It's not a question of musical chairs. One set of people were involved, we are replacing it with another set. We actually want to destroy the canker before we are all consumed. And I really believe that we don't appreciate the seriousness of the problem. We don't understand that there's ecocide going on. We're very keen on aura. We hit the ground running. Why have we not been so keen on illegal mining? Why is it that a very simple thing to do, which is to repeal LI 2462, we are talking, but we haven't yet done it. It doesn't engender confidence that we are serious, if even the small things we haven't done. And I think that the state of emergency is vital. Right. If we are not going to do it, I'm afraid we'll just be going round in circles and there's not going to be much achieved. And I don't want Ghana to sink to the level of some Latin American countries where the drug cartels control parts of the country. But we are getting to that situation.
Right. Before I go to Mr. Bekwe, actually, I was thinking of Mr. Amankwa as well because he is a lawyer for the Alwyn MP, Evans Amankwa. He joined us for the news review this morning and he stated categorically that his client was not involved in Galamsey. But this is also a matter that is being pursued in court, and so I gave him the necessary cautions as he made some of the statements. But we all want to get to the bottom of some of these issues. But coming to you, Mr. Bekwe, you posit that about 3 million, of course, without evidence, but your conjecture is that about 3 million people are directly involved in illegal mining activity. You put that side by side with about 34 million Ghanaians, including those who are engaging in illegal mining, because the damage to our environment affects them as well. The issue then of livelihood, their livelihood versus the communal livelihood and the impact. I mean, how drastic should the actions be? Because a few people are literally killing all of us.
Thank you, Benjamin. Let me make it clear that the question posed was, will alternative livelihood work? And that is why I said, if you want to compare to what has happened previously, it hasn't really generated. It doesn't mean that I support people engaging in illegal mining. So let me make that clear. As you have said, yes, 3 million versus 34 million. Look at our water bodies. And I have said it over and over again. Water bodies, forest reserves are a no-go area for small-scale mining. There is no law. It is outlawed in the small-scale mining sector. So even when somebody says, I have a concession, unless the person has a large-scale concession and has a forest entry permit and all the necessary documentation from the regulators, the person may be operating illegally. So we need to ensure that we declare state of emergency on our water bodies and forest reserves. The reason why I do not support state of emergency on all or ban on all small-scale mining is because I have visited some responsible mining, operating, I would even put them in a medium scale, but because we don't have that categorization under our law, operating, and whenever you ban it, it affects all of them, their work. Those people are paying taxes as well, some of them, not all. So those ones, we shouldn't let that affect them as because they are not conducting or they are not committing these offenses. Rather, we should just go straight and say water bodies, forest reserves, everybody should stop any activity because it's illegal, as Awula have said. Yes, we shouldn't let 3 million people disturb our water bodies. We shouldn't. And there is a way that other countries have done it. And I have always mentioned in Tanzania, they came to learn from us. This is even the surprising thing. They came to learn from us. And now, since Magufuli came into power, and may he so rest in peace, he sat down with the miners and let them understand the model that would work. We could go by that model. For me, I also believe that we should get Ghanaians involved in mining, but in a legal mining, because it is our resources. It is important that we can also get some value from that for going to Ghanaians. Tanzania has done it, regulating the sector effectively, regulating and ensuring that people are also paying taxes. The model can start from first reviewing the license, as Daryl has said, ensuring that we curb or we reduces the entry into small-scale mining. We have about 3 entry points. Do you know that, Benjamin, you can go to the Minerals Commission and take your land to them and say that title this for me for small scale. Once they have not issued that particular land to anybody for mining, they will title it for you. This is what the problem is. Chiefs can do that. Anybody can do that. Equally, they have areas that they have designated.
So that would explain people who sometimes are basically in their rooms mining.
Well, that one, Minerals Commission will not title rooms for you. But in areas that, if it is not a forest reserve and it is not encumbered by any other land use, they will title it for you. But I'm saying that the entry should be, and that's what we are recommending as well, the entry should be that there should be designated areas for small scale, whereby the government may have conducted some mineralization studies to know that the mineral is here before we award that out. Even if it requires $100,000 for every concession, we should do that, because we need people who are serious, people who are going to ensure that they do responsible mining. For me, if we limit the entry into small-scale mining, it will rather reduce, and it will make it easier for regulators. Because anywhere we see you mining, we have to come and check, ensure that you have the right license to do that. Right. And therefore, we can say that because not anybody can come to Minerals Commission and title their land for small-scale mining, you have to go through some rigorous process and to do that. Right. And then we should support such encouragement. In Ethiopia, they have also started, they have also a step, let me say, a cascading system where you can start as an artisanal, regulated, and then once you perform all the necessary duties, you can move into small scale, move into medium scale, and move. And those ones, they even have financing for such trade as well. So let's adopt some of these measures and then make sure that these people do conduct responsible mining and not destroy the water bodies. But for me, as I've said, I am for declaring state of emergency for forest reserves and water bodies. Let's clear that first. And then before even maybe at the same time, start reviewing licenses and make sure that people who are mining, even on non-water bodies reserves, are mining legally.
Mr. Bakwe, thank you for those thoughts. Just a quick one, Daryl. So you realize that in many facets of our national life, not just mining, many others come and learn from us. Rwanda came to learn from us on so many scores. Now they are far ahead of us. Kenya, when they were establishing their law schools and the system, what is it with us? We have the best, yet we can't implement it. Even Cote d'Ivoire, neighboring Cote d'Ivoire, has a better system in terms of dealing with illegal mining. But someone sent an interesting message. Of course, these excavators also have number plates. They have chassis numbers. And so if we want to trace, even if they are immobilized, we could do so, right?
We even track what you call the trolling ships and those trawlers on the oceans that do the fishing and all of that. Indeed. So nothing stops us. I mean, we understand that some process, some technocrats set up actually a system to track our excavators and all of that. They only needed to activate it in the previous administration. It all went to nothing. I mean, so I think there's a problem. We start something, it has the potential, and because it's going to bring in some transparency, we find a way to kill it, or we do not activate it. So I think this, what you're talking about, is one of the easiest things we can do. We can track it right from the port till the lands, it gets to the field. Wherever it goes, we can actually follow where each of the excavators is working. We can use geofencing to even limit the operational areas of these excavators and all that. We are just refusing to do that.
That brings to mind something very quickly. Should it be, because of the fact that excavators under normal circumstances are used in certain activities, from construction and then to mining, should we then have a system where once an excavator comes to our port, we put some sort of tracker, national established as an outfit tracking on the excavator, so that if we see that excavator X was brought in to do construction, somehow it is approaching a forest reserve, immediately there's a trigger, and should we get to that point? I think, you see, excavators are not only used for mining, and because they are earth-moving equipment, they can do damage within a short time. I know of people using the excavators in the deep of the night to actually dig sand, winning and all of that. So there's actually a need to track all the excavators that come in, be it for Galamsey, for mining or whatever. We need to know where they are going, because these machines, when they commit a crime, because we can't track them, it's very difficult to trace them and even get to know who really owns them. So that particular, solution will really help a lot. And it's about time we really consider it seriously. Like I said, it was considered in the past, but we only did not activate it. Now, I want to just talk about a few other points that Samuel raised, which I want to say I concur greatly, and also the fact about the entry into small-scale mining. Do you know that, when it comes to mining in this country, large-scale mining companies are required to post bond, reclamation bond, even before they get their licenses approved. Small-scale miners don't. You can actually get your permit, there's no need for a reclamation bond, and then you go ahead. So they can actually mess up the area and leave without anybody compelling them. Consequences. So that is why I think that we need to also, as part of reviewing our mining regime, really internalize what you call the polluter pay. Because most of the time, these miners come, they destroy before then we start looking for them. Look at the issue we are talking about, these 9 forest reserves. We know those companies that were working in these areas. Professor Frimpong Boateng's report gave us information as to who was working there. Even now, if you ask the Forestry Commission which companies were active there, they will tell you. We can use the information to charge these people or these companies to really fix these forest reserves that they have destroyed. And if I could also share a few insights on why we also believe that the LI 2462 needs to be completely repealed. Now, there used to be a guideline for mining in forest reserve, and that guideline only limited any mining activity in our forest reserve. And I need to say that it was not all forest, it was just limited to protected production forest reserve. We have over 280 forest reserves. Some of them are categorized as protected, others as production. So with production, we are taking timber, we are taking all sorts of things there. And the previous guidelines said that only 2% of all production forest reserve could be placed under mining. That was the guideline. Now, a new law comes in, it actually removes the limitation. The LI 2462, it removes the limitation of 2%. Now, practically every forest reserve in its entirety can be mined. Then there was the issue about specifically targeting GSBAs, which was also protected under the guideline. So there are 2 reasons why we need to remove this law, because first of all, it removes the limitation of 2% for production forest reserve, and it's also specifically target forest reserve that were not previously even considered for mining. Then there is this other point which is also very sad. Before you get any permit to even mine in a production forest reserve, before, you needed to go to the Forestry Commission and even ask for clearance. Right now, they place priority over the mining rights rather than the forest entry. So you need to go to Minerals Commission, get your ratification before you come to a Forestry Commission. Listen, I have entry permit. I have what? Mining right. Will you let me mine or not?
Now, this is somebody who is working under the ministry. If a minister says, I've given this person a permit, what can I do as a forest gatekeeper to stop you from going into the forest? Now, there's another side bit of it that we need to also be very clear about. The new LI is requiring that if a mining company goes to clear an area of about 100 hectares, that same mining company is expected to establish and manage a biodiversity offset area 3 times the 100 hectares outside the area of work. Just look at our landscape right now. Every place is destroyed. Community lands are taken up. Whose land are you going to take up to really then set up as a biodiversity? So there are a lot of inconsistencies and a lot of things that shouldn't be in that law. That's why we are saying, look, let's go to the drawing table, let's repeal this law, and then really look at it critically. What do we need to do about our forest reserves? And then keep all protected forest reserves out of the scope of mining for good.
Daryl, thank you for that. Let's do let me throw this to Aula. Aula, let's do an assessment of how this administration overpromised, whether they've overpromised and under-delivering. Because I remember that in the lead-up to election 2024, the specific demands were asked. You were asking for the repealing of LI 2462, of course, you just mentioned that, declaring a state of emergency, pause on all small-scale mining and community mining, cause environmental terrorists and all persons named in Professor Frimpong Boaten's report to be investigated, and it goes on and on. Now, since this new administration took over, we've seen that the president has directed the immediate arrest and prosecution of individuals and groups engaged in illegal mining within forest reserves. He's also issued a stern warning to his cabinet ministers, emphasizing that any involvement in Galamsey activities will result in swift and severe action. We've seen that the administration has also announced plans to revoke all mining licenses granted for operations in the forest reserves. And of course, law enforcement agencies have been mobilized, and they've been removing illegal miners from forest reserves. We can see some of them happening. Even the EPA boss has been leading some of them on and on. Between the demands that were made and what we are seeing now, where is the new administration over-promising and under-delivering, Aula?
Well, when it comes to, let me start with LI 2462, which is a very simple thing to do. The previous administration said they were going to do it. Everybody agrees that it's not a question of reviewing. It's a question of repealing it in its entirety. And then if we need to look at, the mining regime and bringing laws, we do that. That has not been done, and that's very disappointing. These are one of the first things that I thought this administration would do to convince Ghanaians that indeed they are serious about the fight against illegal mining. And then we are also going back to the state of emergency. It could have been declared. It hasn't been declared. And as I think all of us on this call have agreed that without a state of emergency, on our forest reserves and water bodies, we're not going to get anywhere. And let me say this, no law in Ghana allows whether small-scale miner or large-scale company to be mining in our water bodies. There's no law that allows you to do that. So anybody there is committing an illegality and should be arrested and prosecuted. And you see, and I have to say that our problem in this country has always been enforcement. You've talked about people from other countries coming to learn from us. We are allergic to enforcement, not just when it comes to the mining sector. Where I am right now in my job, somebody is putting up a structure on a children's park. It has been reported to the authorities. Nothing has been done. You can see stop work and people just continue working. So until we can get our enforcement into action, that is why we are saying pause all forms of small-scale mining until you get your act together. Because, for example, we had a situation in, I've forgotten the name of the place, where the person came, Atronsu, where the person were brandishing community license. They were polluting the waters. And the EPA said they needed a digging license before they could begin. The EPA, to the best of my knowledge, never even came there to date to find out that did they have a digging license. So we cannot enforce. So until we are prepared to enforce, we can have all the regulations, nothing is going to happen. But to answer your question directly, people are saying early days. I think that it's not really early days because we are being poisoned. And some of the first things I expected to see, I haven't yet seen. But yes, we are still giving them the benefit of the doubt. And hopefully within the next couple of days, we'll hear that LI, the systems have been put in place to revoke LI 2462, and that a state of emergency will be declared. When it got to COVID, we didn't hold any consultations. People lost their businesses because of COVID. But we looked at the greater good and we decided to have the lockdown. Why is it that we are dragging our feet when it comes to illegal mining?
So the Ghana Water Company Limited director was saying to Ben a few days ago that the turbidity level we're seeing has reduced. You know, previously we said we couldn't, even our systems don't have enough capacity to process the level of turbidity we're seeing, but that has reduced. So the question I'm asking then is, the activities that we are seeing so far in a quest to stop illegal mining and its effect on our water bodies, is it not actually bringing some results? Let me throw that to Daryl. Well, he said it's reduced. Well, although we've not declared a state of emergency, but all the figures he was giving.
I think he mentioned, and this was yesterday, he mentioned that in the central and western regions, it had fallen from 15,000 NTU to about 2,000 NTU.
That's good.
Which is good, but it also means if we did a lot more, we could better the situation even.
Exactly.
But we're getting some results.
No, I mean, like you said, I mean, I'm very happy to hear this, but I think we shouldn't be too happy already, because we know how these things go. Anytime the new government comes in, they really get on the ground, they start doing this. And I must say that the executive director for the EPA has been doing very well. She has been on the ground. So possibly this is leading to some of these positive results. She's been to Cape Coast, she's been to Takoradi, all of these areas that you are talking about. So it is possible that we are getting these results by the presence of the government agencies on the ground. The question is, how are we going to sustain this? I think it's the consistency and the enforcement and the compliance that really we sustain that yields the result. So I'm happy to hear this, but let's wait and see if we can, and even bring this further down. I think that's where we want to go. Maybe somewhere around 500 NTU, then we say, okay, we are now achieving some good result. We're on the course to winning. But I think it's still very early days to say we are happy with what we are seeing.
Samuel, let me throw this to you. Do we still need a state of emergency, although we are seeing some results?
Yes, a very simple answer is yes. The state of emergency allows the law enforcement to go in with a plan. Because now, sometimes you go in and say, oh, I have this license, I have that, even if it is a forged license. You have to probe and all that. But when there is a state of emergency on our river bodies, and our forest reserve, then it means nobody has the reason to be there. And then we can purge the system and ensure that any forest entry permit issued, if it is legal, let me mention this, we need to ensure that the person working in the forest, if he has a forest entry permit for large scale, is going to adopt mining methods that ensures that it is responsible. Because it's not just the new companies. There have been forest mining for some time. I don't want to mention names, but those companies were doing responsibly. They were even planting just to replace the trees they have felled. So if you fell like 1,000 trees, some of the companies planted about 3,000 trees. Some also did a very important reclamation as well. So it is possible to ensure that we have that for large scale. But for small scale, nobody has the license. So yes, we still have to declare the state of emergency.
Now, my last question to all of you would be, the issue, we cannot discuss Galamsey without talking about weapons. And I want to quote what the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources said. He said they're heavily armed with sophisticated weapons and very violent with a large number of excavators, making it extremely difficult for a forest guard and rapid response to control them, since they have no such sophisticated weapons to control them. The question is, where are they getting these weapons from, and what do we do as our approach to counter what they're doing? If you were to make an educated guess, where are the weapons coming from and how do we tackle it?
A lot of the weapons, a little I know.
I think we have a network
illicit activities in the small sector.
Okay, we lost you.
Can you hear me now?
Kindly start afresh. We lost you there for a bit.
All right. A lot of the weapons, my limited knowledge on them, that a lot of the weapons are smuggled in. There is a clear linkage between, I would say, small-scale mining or illegal mining and weapon importation. some weapon importers or smugglers target these mines as their customers because they know they need them to protect their asset or whatever they are doing, the illegalities they are doing. So that link is there. Initially, you may have thought that these weapons were small arms and light weapons, but some of them are not. Some of them are heavy weapons as well. There is pump action guns. I know it's classified as small arms. Pump action guns. Some of them are even AK-47 used in these mines as protecting these mines. And I think that is another thing altogether. It's not even part of what we are discussing. Those are illicit activities and illegal activities linked to the small scale.
Right.
And some organized crime groups using the small scale sector to perpetrate their crimes. That's another topic altogether.
For the sake of time, I'll just give you about 30 seconds, Daryl, to get a bite at this. Where do we even start from in dealing with these sophisticated weapons that the states cannot match?
I think this issue was also pending from last year. I worked with some military officers from Burma camp, and they acknowledged the urgency of the issue with the escalation of arms proliferation in the mining side. So I think that it's also an issue of we being negligent. We knew this was brewing. We watch it. Now it's become pervasive to the extent that you go to site and there are guys, and there's even fears that some of these guys have been coming from Burkina Faso with the insurgency and all these cells really springing up. So I think that it's an issue of national security that we need to treat with all the urgency it demands. But so far, I think we just have a kid's glove approach to it, which for me, I don't think is the best way to go. And
so is it a gap in what national security is doing? Are they not doing enough?
I mean, this shouldn't be happening. If it's happening, then that means that there's something wrong. So I think they need to really look at their strategy in dealing with this. Yeah, they need to really look at it.
Awola, you have the final word on this.
Well, this shouldn't be happening, as has been said. We face national security concerns in addition to an existential threat. We really need to take the bull by the horns. We need to do our intelligence work and go into these forest reserves, make sure we are well armed to deal with the environmental terrorists and remove them. Every minute we waste is every minute empowering them, and they are getting stronger and stronger. There's a cautionary tale. Do not get to the level of these Latin American countries where the drug cartels are heavily armed and in control. Let's act now. We have the capability. We have the resources. All we want is the political will to ensure that we nip this canker in its tracks. We do not allow it to continue one day more.
I've had a group of people discuss that these sophisticated weapons and these people who've laid siege to our forest reserves, the one-stop solution is just open fire on them from above, because then they may not be able to retaliate. Would that be too extreme?
That's too extreme. That is actually just out of the question.
Are they not killing us?
Well, they are, but you see, any action you take that is going to also take another life is not for us appropriate. And I think that there are ways we can deal with this without really shooting to kill people. I think there was some instances in the previous action that were proposed, the previous administration. I think we all came struggling against it. I am rather more in support of we having deterrent measures that would rather demobilize the equipment and make it so difficult for anybody to even get the equipment to even work with than going to the ground and shooting people. I think that is just out of the question.
A quick reaction to that. You know, one of the reasons we have laws is to act as deterrent. So if you see that Asomesi does X and the consequence is Y, you know that if you do X, the likelihood of suffering Y is high. I am all for protecting life. But you see, with Galamsey, so many lives are being lost. You are well aware. I'll be preaching to the choir. Children who are being born with all kinds of deformities. Would that not be quite a deterrent if you realize that, look, we may be outgunning the military and all that, but if you are caught, you will be shot, you will be gunned down. Mind you, under Rawlings, there was a point where armed robbery was rife. And the military, and I'm sorry to say, I'm not supporting, but they took on armed robbers. And what did we see? At that time, I lived in one such community, I just don't want to mention. Armed robbers were just running amok. It took such action, and then it abated.
I think for me, the response I have for this is that, look, we have not explored diligently all the other measures available to us. This, for me, is very extreme. We are not even there yet. It should even be considered. The police have not been diligent in the way they enforce the laws that we have. We have not been able to effectively track the equipment. We've not been able to ensure that our licensing regime is appropriate and well done. So there are lots of loopholes in the system. So we are not at this point at all. And like I said, as it involves taking lives, you are actually, kind of using summary conviction and then executing people, which for me shouldn't be the order of the day. We shouldn't get there at all.
I think that's our these people have guns that I think the intention behind the guns and the weapons they wield is simply to shoot anyone who dares to obstruct them. Please go ahead.
Even in a war situation, there are rules of engagement. Where there's a war going on against Ghana by environmental terrorists. So you respond. They shoot at you, you shoot back. But even in wartime, you don't shoot somebody in the back. There are certain things you don't do. So yes, I am against shooting, just going around and shooting. But yes, if they engage you, you return fire. And if in the process they happen to be killed, this is what will happen. But I think that we have to, use all the tools at our disposal. But yes, there's a war going on. And in wartime, if you attack persons, they can attack you back. There's nothing known as self-defense. But self-defense, the situation needs to be there. You don't just, I agree that by their actions, they are poisoning all Ghanaians. But we still cannot just go and start shooting willy-nilly. We declare the state of emergency. We are there. They attack you. You return fire. That is what should happen.
Thank you. Then
let's also bring the conversation into the conversation. Godwin Ama, he's General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners. He joins the conversation. For you, Mr. Ama, you're joining the conversation at a point where we've exhausted quite a bit about it. What is your take on resolving this menace called Galamsey?
Okay, thank you and good morning. I think we've spoken about this issue for quite some time now. And I think the whole issue, we know all challenges, know the solutions, but what it is the political will. And then that is what, if we are able to say, yes, this is the direction we are going at. And captains and other actors work together, we'll be able to reduce the menace of illegal. And where we have a situation where we have what we call political Galamsey influencing the whole process, then at the end of the day, we'll not be able to go anywhere. Because if you listen to the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources, going around and ensuring that this forest reserve, those illegal operators in there are dealt with. He said people were calling him. Who are those people calling him? These are people who have influence. These are people who are well connected in society. And I think when we are able to deal with the issue and unmark such people, we'll be able to reduce the menace of illegal mining. Because now it's moving to another direction where these illegal miners invade even small-scale concessions, with tax, guns, shooting all over to take over a mine. And some happened to me just recently. Illegal operation came to our legal site where we are mining. They diverted the river course, started mining, and they had so many people, these langars with guns and all that and ammunition. So I have to withdraw our security. Called the police came in, they couldn't do anything. I don't know why. Minerals Commission came in, they stopped them for a while. The moment Minerals Commission left, so I must commend the National Security Board with these people. We reported the issue, and the excavators were picked from there, and they sent it straight to Accra. And you have the same political Galamseyans who are behind trying to influence and get these machines out for these legal operators. But the national security, I must say, that the coordinator has done a yeoman's job with all this pressure and all that. So if government is able to put its foot down and say no, anyone who will try to influence the system and then unmask them will reduce the menace of illegal mining. Because the solutions are there. Some of the areas we can re-engineer the place. We've been mining in forest reserve. The way and the manner at which people are mining there, for me, as a miner, is a total disgrace. Because you see people mining anyhow, they don't reclaim, they don't have even seedlings to plant after mining and all that. And they say these are licensed people who are mining in the forest reserve. Then later, because majority of the media don't understand the operations of small-scale mining, they will say it's small-scale, illegal small-scale mining happening in the forest reserve, whereby you have large-scale companies that are competing. Why can't we say illegal large-scale mining? But we have illegal small-scale mining. This is purely illegality, and it should be treated as such.
Just before you go, is it not true as well that for you, some of the small-scale miners, you engage in illegality, and in fact, some of you go for these concessions instead of operating on them? You don't have what it takes, but you end up splitting the concessions, giving them out to illegal miners, and that's how you make.
No, not small-scale miners.
Is that true or
we
not?
have large-scale concessions. Let me explain. We have large-scale concessions that are prospecting. Most of them are signed. If you watch the concessions that are assigned, these are in prospecting stage, some are recognition stage. I can tell you 90% of the assignment is being done by large-scale operators. These forest reserves that people are mining in and the assignment to the Chinese, these are not small-scale mining concessions. These are large-scale mining concessions. It's only 2 companies that I can say has got what we call tributal licenses to assign their concession to proper small-scale miners and regulate their activities. The rest of them, what they do is they pick the land, assign, take percentage, and no reclaiming. And the state should hold, the Minerals Commission, the Mines Inspectorate, and the EPA should hold those companies responsible or liable to the environmental degradation for them to pay and reclaim.
Right.
They are there, they are all over. But at the end of the day, everything you push to the small-scale miners, and these people continue to perpetrate their illegality. We need to do proper audit, know the companies. The media should also be educated about it, so that when the reportage are coming, it will be properly directed to the quarters that are perpetrating the illegality. Illegal mining is legal mining. I'm not saying every small-scale miner is a thing. The same way we have the media industry, we can't say all the media guys are things. But if you have majority doing their work well, we don't have an issue. Illegal mining, let's address it and let's go to the right process. People talk small-scale mining. People don't talk to small-scale mining. And this is very sad.
Right. Thank you so much for your contribution. It's been insightful. Godwin Ama is General Secretary of the Ghana National Association of Small-Scale Miners. He joined the conversation. We also had Daryl Bosu, Deputy National Director, Arusha Ghana, Awula Sewa, Coordinator, Eco-Conscious Citizens, and Samuel Osei-Bekwin, Executive Director, Center for Extractives and Development Africa. We're grateful to all of you for joining the conversation. We take a short breather. We'll be back with more on the AM Show. Welcome back on the AM Show. Now, how do you connect to government? How do you have your say? How do you ensure that your expectations are met? Well, there's a collaborative effort with our outfit, the Multimedia Group, and the CDD, the Center for Democratic Development. And they have a drive that we've put together going across the nation, interacting with you in town halls to ensure that your voice is heard and that government acts on these. Well, joining a conversation to actually elaborate on these, we have Daniel Selome. He is with the CDD. He joins the conversation. Mr. Selome, he is actually Assistant Communications Specialist with the CDD Ghana. Mr. Selome, a very good morning to you, sir.
Thank you very much for joining you.
It's a pleasure having you. Now, I'd just like you to walk us through, of course, this is a collaborative effort, but what brought us to this point where we had to have these town hall engagements and also deal with some specific groups like the aged, persons with disabilities and all that?
Sure. So first of all, political parties do campaign and they go around the countries doing campaign tours. Unfortunately, say if NDC is doing a campaign, you don't expect that NPP people will be there and vice versa. And so you realize that a lot of people are not included in the process of campaign. And campaigns are very huge events, a lot of people and adrenaline, and there are a lot of promises. It's not so much of a conversation between citizens and people who are campaigning. And when you're campaigning, for instance, you don't know whether or not you're going to win the elections. And so when you eventually win the elections and become a government of the people, of not NDC or NPP, you need to involve everybody. And so we have created this platform where citizens can have the opportunity to engage, share the expectations of government, for us to present to government to say that these are what the citizens are saying they want. This is their agenda for Ghana. This is how they want to see Ghana in the next 4 years when you're in government. And so we have put this platform together where we are going across the country. We are going to 10 regions in the country to have conversations with people. Beyond that, we're going to have 4 specialized town halls where we engage persons with disabilities, we are engaging the youth, we are engaging women and the aged. And so we've created this platform where we are prioritizing inclusion. As a democracy, inclusion is very important. And so these platforms we've set up to bridge the gap between government and the people and also include everybody. Yes.
So you're trying to get the politicians to go back to the citizens, especially those who voted for them, for accountability. Will it work, though? Because you know that usually in campaign times, certain things are said, certain promises are made, but once the win is secured, the winner takes all, and sometimes, as some will say, we return to factory settings.
I mean, that is exactly the reason we are doing this, because a lot of the campaign promises are based on the principles of the political party that wins the elections. And so we are saying that this is what the people are saying. These are documented expectations of people that we want you to follow. So in the next 4 years when you're in government, this is what the people are saying. This is what they say they want. These are their priorities. And so if you don't prioritize this, essentially you are a failure. That's what we are trying to do here.
Now, there are the 4 groupings that you are prioritizing. I started mentioning some of them. Can you walk us through all of them?
So the 4 groups are the persons with disabilities, the aged or pensioners, the youth and women. And these are the 4 specialized groups that we're going to have our town halls with afterwards.
Mm. In these engagements, I also know that you're going to many different regional capitals, from Y in the Upper West region to Tamale in the Northern region and all that. What shape, what form are they going to take, and where specifically are you going to be?
So the events are happening in the regional capital. So we are today, for instance, we are in Bono region. We are in Bono region, yes, in Eastern region and Upper West. So we are in the regional capitals of all these 3 regions today. This morning, the conversations have started, and so this is just an engagement where we have deployed personnel who are going to engage citizens in conversations where they share their expectations, their Ghana agenda. Yes, it's just a basic conversation. Yeah.
All right. So this is a citizen engagement, which also reveals that today, of course, you are in Sunyani in the Bono region, Koforidua in the Eastern region, and Wa in the Upper West region. Is that correct?
Exactly. Mm. Yes, exactly.
And then on the 27th, you'd be in the Western region, Takrady to be specific, and Techiman in the Bono East region. Then it also gets into March, where there are engagements in the Greater Accra region, Oti region, Dambai to be specific, the Ashanti region on the 4th, and then the Central region as well. I'm curious, at the end of all of these, before we even get to when the 4 groupings will have their town halls, at the end of all of these engagements, what is the CDD collaboratively hoping to see? What picture are you hoping to paint at the end of all of this?
So we want a government that is listening. We want to see a government that is taking into account the people's expectations, their views. We want to see a government that is saying that this is what my people are saying. They voted for me into power, and these are the things that they want done for them. These are their heart desires. And so we want to see government prioritize these things. That is why we've collaborated with you, for instance, to give this agenda a further reach so that we can put pressure on government together and get them to do what is right and what is needed.
All right. And just to make our viewers aware, everyone watching us, for the youth engagement you spoke of, that will be in the Northern Regional Capital of Tamale on the 11th of March. Then you would have the engagement with women in the Volta Regional Capital of Ho on the 13th of March. People or persons with disabilities, that is in the Greater Accra region, on the 18th of March, and then the aged also in the Greater Accra region on the 20th of March. And all of these town halls, of course, we're inviting all of you to join so that you can actually engage government from this standpoint. But if you have any final words for us, Mr. Salome, this would be the time.
Yes, sure. So beyond the town halls, we're going to run a social media campaign. And so you can just hop onto social media with the hashtag Citizens Expectation GH and tag us, share your expectations, and we're going to pick it up from there. So this is also sponsored by the Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, and so we have to give them some credit for the support. Aside that, I would encourage everybody to willingly share the expectations of Ghana. We want a Ghana that works, and so whilst we have the American dream, we should have the Ghanaian dream as well. Thank you so much for the opportunity this morning.
Thank you, Mr. Salome, for joining the conversation. Daniel Salome is with the CDD, and he just joined us for this all-important conversation. He is the Assistant Communications Specialist at the CDD Ghana. So the hashtag is Citizen Expectation GH. Let us know what is on your mind. Well, stick and stay with us. We're taking a breather. When we return, we also have quite an informative package for you, all the way from Agbogbloshie. Have you ever wondered what is happening there now? Well, Sweetie Abochi is on hand. She's been on the ground, and she'll be telling you a lot more. Stick and stay. We'll be right back.
You're still watching the AM show on Joy News. Now, I'm bringing you a special package because yesterday I went to Agbogbloshie Millionaire Market. We'd heard reports that an NDC woman, the market's queen, was preventing some known NPP traders from selling at their shelf. But as we engaged the market traders and the people who'd been accused, it turns out the story is far different from the reports we heard. Listen for yourself. This is the Agbogbloshie Millionaire Market's controversy.
Because it's not an NPP thing. So me even being an NDC person, the NDC members tagged me as an NPP person because I've had the opportunity to build this. Because of certain revenue links I have with the AME.
How did you get the money to build the shelves?
I'm a businessman and a porter as well. And I work with NGOs in the United States. So we even source funding for construction of certain parts of the market. But because of the corruption and the politicization, all those things have to be on hold. There are a lot of evidence. After this, I know we don't have time, but we'll find time to go in details. Because one, I'm disappointed by the chieftaincy institution. Because when I was building this thing, a chief was brought in by the Gbese Manche that I should help him gain recognition. And he connived with Madame Viviol Adadivo. So even monies that were supposed to go to government, they've taken it since 2021.
All right, so were you renting the shelves to the traders or it was for free?
When we built it, it's meant for offloading, but when you come and sit under it and you sell, you pay 2 cedis a day. After paying the 2 cedis, it was agreed that the Gbese stool would take one part, I would take one part, and then AMA takes one part. But again, because of certain corruption in AME regarding politics, so the then sub-metro chairman did a lot of shady things. And at the end of the day, the chief was telling me my money is giving it to the sub-metro chairman who is no more there. And even the money that is supposed to go to government has not gone to government.
So let me get this straight. You sort of got some funding, built some shelves, which was supposed to be an offloading dock. But unfortunately, that could not happen because people had packed this space. At that level, yes, I know. But somehow, traders who get the shelves, when they use this place for a day, they're supposed to pay 2 cedis. That money collected is split 3 ways. One for you, one for AMA, and one for the Gbese school. Great. Now, that's your story. Let me hear from the woman who has also been affected, and then we'll get the conversation going. Madam Etsen, you're saying?
Sylvia Pian. So I had a friend, a Joanchne.
Ajuanchine, otonchine on. Okay. Or say, or see shelves be mamo. And mu yusua, oh no, yeah, concrete. Yeah, sure, yeah. And mu yusu shelves na mu tia 2 CDs a day. Sas cannot no de any day wo wasema. But who wasem ye day?
Oh yeah, no, oji each person be at 30 million. And ukita patetu, ukita table 2, I'll bet you 60 million. 3,000? Yes. And ukita 2, I'll bet you 6,000. What this is sickening now, oji we no. A time omode Mahama, omode ne babesi no on the 6th no. And on a langard for ne and mane dinner chino. Omoba ha say, me mo mpaye no man so Mahama in. No mo so Mahama in na obepa mo miafia o ma me nhedwa. Nti yesu Mahama in on the 7th, on the 8th, and omo nyina ba hanom. And ombe bro me omo se me mpake me niema no. Ti omo se me niema no video no wo ma yi no so. Ti metimi asen niema.
Hold on, I need to do a translation. So she's saying that when Madame Adadevo gave out these places, they're supposed to pay 3,000 cedis for 1 shell and 6,000 cedis for 2 shells. Now, on the day of the election, or on the day of 6th January or 6th December? January. So 6th January this year, the day before the inauguration of President John Dramani Mahama, Madame Adadevo came with some pugilists to threaten her, saying that she should pray that Mahama is not sworn in. But if he is sworn in, they will remove her from the place. And true to their words, they came here and beat her up. I believe this is what she was wearing. She was beaten. She claims she has videos. We'll show those to you. Everything was collected from her. But at the end, now you say, "Omo target was her."
No auntie, MPP ninti no target.
Now we MPP ni.
Minya MPP ni. Minya MPP ni. Who say me the MPP ade ahye me ho. Because of Makati beye pavement no beye wa ha no mo de suspan ne eniema no be si mi nchen ha nti onu se me ye MPP ni wo hu se Makati ne ye eno na asem ne no ani enye bibia nti omo be bro me wa ha no mo be se me niema nyina agu fom
na wo kwa no mo ye wo sa
me nkwa no mo ye me sa omo wie ye no mo ko frɛ NDC chairman ne secretary eno o hye omo se omo mepam me mfia eno omo se omo bepam me.
Well, I was trying to understand why she was targeted. She says because she's seemingly associated with McCarthy, who's the one who put the concrete on the floor. They assume they're NPP sympathizers or NPP members, which is why they are being targeted. But she hasn't done anything other than just ply her trade here in the market.
And even I'm not an NPP person. Yeah, I'm an NDC person. You know, Kofi Adams can tell you. Victor Bewo can tell you my role in NDC. You understand? But what happened is the day they came to attack her, after which they came to my office is at the other end, saying that they want to take over the porter's office because I'm an MPP person. And the women were so threatened over there. But the long and short is that this is a road reservation. And the money-making aspect here, which is supposed to go to government, is going to individual pockets. I can tell you that we don't need IMF, really, because the kind of monies that is being generated, and this has resulted to the filth you see, because all the people you see selling on the road, they have certain monies they pay, which is collected from them, and then any time a big man is coming or something, they do something facial to pretend as if nobody is sitting there. When they go, they come and take the money. And that has been their source of livelihood. When you take this course of the street, people who are not in the market, monies are collected from them like ground rent. Even the sheds on the road reservation, they pay 30 cedis a month for electricity.
So what do you want out of, I mean, we are here trying, we will go and speak to the woman who's been accused, Madame Adadevo. What is your story?
I want to take over my shed. I have all the necessary documents. And we are appealing to the president, the Council of State, and then the Speaker of Parliament to intervene, because the kind of abuses that goes on is terrible. And in my capacity as a human rights activist, I'm championing this cause, not on her behalf alone, but there are other people who cannot speak for themselves.
Well, so why do you think they took over your, you did it, this is your investment. Why do you think they took it over?
Because I was careless in a way. I was careless in the sense that the Gbese manager told me that the chief is installed at Agbuglushi was not respected. So I should find a way to introduce him into the market system. So when we got a permit to do this thing, I lied that he was the one building it, but he never put any dam in it. And as a result of that, he's greedy. He even signed a fake document on the land here on a coastal. So I saw him as a criminal.
You're accusing a chief. Yeah. And we don't have him here right now. So I just want to put out that is what you are saying. Does not reflect what, okay. So
I have money that is belonging to me that he has embezzled. I have money too that is supposed to go to AMA that he has embezzled. So how do I
I'll come back to you. It is
to me waha me nya baby ntina nton ade. Me won kwala 6 ya me operation me nsa. Me ntimi mfa niam nko achi. Enti me sire mahama say onhu me mobo. Ya bia ha ma obi so mfa nye coastal. Se so omudi obi abetina ha so mfa nye coastal. Me ni baby ameton ade. Enti me sire mahama ni na Jane say omuhu me mobo no mo ma me metina mapatem back. Na me nton ma ade. Enye saa bibi ye me a emfa sem papa ma nti misre no omo ma me metina mapatem back enye saa ne ekoso no de mani nyi ho.
So she's just appealing for the authorities to intervene so she can get back her shelf and continue plying her trade because she has nowhere else to go, nowhere else. And she says she has 6 children. She's been operated on 3 times. She cannot carry goods on her head and go around like the porters we see. And so this is really just an appeal for authority, the right authorities to intervene and straighten out all the issues of abuse happening in the markets here on the back of NDC, NPP, partisan politics that is being done here. Let's now speak to Madame Adadevo. She's the accused person here, and we need to hear her side of the story. Now we interact with the market queen herself and her deputy. They also tell their sides of the story. According to her, this really has nothing to do with NDC NPP. Instead, it's really an issue of bad behavior, flaunting rules in the market, and at the end of the day, making hullabaloo about nothing because the money that gives her the right to own that place where she plies her trade was refunded back to her. Let's hear their side of the story. Madam Esther, Netene say, Encrophobi say, Madam Adadevo, Ede Encrophobia Kobu Obi because or MPP ni, and a patana baby autumn one day no Musumu GF in sem because or NPP ni. As some Ukraine woman near then.
Pato doka na enim sa. Pataya na esi onu genu ombu ade chenye ne. Enye ne na chi na ombu ade. Odu pe yin bekasa ti se onso bia wo yat. Ti ye empete be hu. Ti ye ni nem ani behavior no sila. Mi ami ko ne nchen. Me de kata adwa. Wo da bre kwa wan. Free menim. Question be na obi sam. Ada no be sam ta be da bre wan. Adwa de na wo ye no. Me ante tami jam me ni ukata na ukata. Adwa later no adwa me ni we si waba. Wa ya usu pa usika. Ya ka usika.
Sika ben no.
Pata no tua no fe de sika man.
2 cedi na 3,000 is 6,000 no.
Yes, see we otua no. Anya 2 cedi atua kwa otua no. 30 million, mienu no 60 million. O si afa man. Nti ya de ama o se wuti ha. Wo pese on jije ni pa na so. Ade asem. Ya de be ma niama no. Anja sister me si, manama sister go me pampa so. Ene mta adwa wo de be so wo ni mu. Pushi. You know kato. Me ni no no de ni say come ni. Crofo. Physical. Wo ho na. Crofo santata jai mi chile, jali chile. Ena me call him. Ade na ba ya kan. Wa ko frɛ paying ba ha MPP. When you MPP ndi atem. You should know market on bush or market.
Translation. So what she's saying is that it's not really a partisan issue at all in the market. In fact, the lady had requested that the 3,000 or 6,000 cedis she'd paid for the shelf be repaid back to her, and they'd actually paid back the money to her. And they don't really understand why this is coming up again because they don't owe her any money, and she was not removed from the place because she's an MPP member. Rather, she's been removed because the money has been repaid back to her. But Edia Intina Mobono.
Obiabu.
Ochre ya tare bi ya neche no ayatete osinkrofo bo no.
Sister Obua. Obi evunu. Ya mamre su culture dokata adu ade asem no. Ana opushi antibe beda defo. Opushi na mitiba no jira ho. Ona se opushi mama mi. Oka sa pa mto opushi binwan. Ona se ne yapata obia kwamba. Obia kwamba ya madam no di so bo me bada boneti. Ona we want to be this sort of utabu. Adam want to be jira. Ti later no wa ko frɛ krɔfo ba. Ene e betra ha. Ene ye ka asem. Ye ka se ye nto be ka bibi ompa to wu de ma eto patomam. Ene ko fon sa asem ni wasem. Nto be ko fie kakra. Na umbani atati asase. Ono ti de bi be ko be de. Ye fa ni tika man. Ho na fi de this kind man.
All right, so I think I missed out a part about a physical altercation where this lady in question, Ajua, actually engaged in fisticuffs with the market queens, both the deputy and Madame Adadevo herself, over what, returning the money to her. But Adaina, well, her character has also come in question, which is, I think, is the main problem here. The reports we're getting indicates that she's not a very respectful person, but that's what she said, that this is basically trying to remove her because she's an NPP person. Fortunately for us, we have Madame Mabel Adadevo herself here, so let's also hear her side of the story. Madame Adadevo is the market queen here at this division of Agbogloshi Market, and she's the one, the Millennium Market, and she's the one who's been accused of bringing pugilists to beat up a trader over what they say is an NPP NDC brouhaha. But Citizens Microphone, let's hear her story. Madame Adadevo, thank you for joining us. So we got reports that some traders, specifically Ajua, was beaten up. Her place of work has been removed from her, collected from her to be given to somebody else to be used as a co-store because you say she's an NPP member. What's the truth of the story?
Oh, good morning. Yeah, market, yeah, politics. Obi obeba bia ye papa. Em say me papa, me former papa Ajiri Branson. Me papa. Ono no kai won Ajiri Branson so apanyi wo MPP mu. Ono klapo no obua me amenya sans ni gravels media patanti market there no politics. Em sister na mo friend adwa no. Ombo ade. Baby owo klapo say edu time a ye be clean up klapo ono onye. So ye bibi na me ko ho a na odi we ntoko ahyem. Em say there was a time be me ko ho no mini kasa no na ka me ba treatable no. Yes, it was 2016. Na ka me ko sese ho no also matter me say hole me na ka menika. Nti me panyi from executive from no mo be jai ni mu asa na oja mu. That is not the first time. Anytime bia bibia e be ko ho no e dia e wo ma as a leader na e wo executive no e call rounds, especially e be clean up exercise no. Second time so you call no so obi di na assemble so you call the same you copy up say what attack me na minim say obi owo mombo na chi omo pushi no. Recently we are on so you call on wo no kwapọ so on to your light sika light no. Emisa patana aye wo hakora po mi ko bobo sian wo quick loan because your papa your former president was so no your ba patano o si on structure bia obeye we no light no so on dia sana kakra ejashi no on penti your copper quality nyama no emisa on your former Ajiri Braso kwapo obehwe se medi graphics ni nyama gu ha on so boa mi na ya patano. This patano de say nicer start to go. Ya call on so they say onya me ho onya ho manim pe because on board there. Timi se on to apatam because onya ade o bet to apatam. Mr. member to no apatam.
It is specifically denti just simple. Adenti na now person o to apatam. Na
o harass mu bibi ni a o apatam on to ahwe apatam. Electricity no government there kwa na ye to electricity. Onu ompesa ompenu ombuye no na miso nto apatam.
I mean a translation. So Madam Adadevo is saying that this particular woman in question, every time there's an issue which she as the market queen needs to maybe arbitrate or settle the issue, every time she tries to speak to her, the lady becomes apprehensive, and on several 2 occasions she's actually tried to hold her, engage in physical fights with her over issues that really could have been resolved amicably. The latest one is that she doesn't pay electricity bills, and there are some other maintenance things that are supposed to be done, but she doesn't do any of those. She flouts the rule. And that's why, that's coupled with her bad behavior, like she's saying, or disrespectful nature, is the reason she wanted to evict her from her shelf, from where she plies her trade. And really, it doesn't come down to NDC, NPP.
Honestly, you call me, me penny for me call no. In fact, many organizer na ya call you call no. Woman be tonto so genius space. Me call original no or so matalium or bob akuku first no so matalium. Me sister so attack no say only Natalian. So me sister too. Me gina so me say me ngino. Me so mu kan ya kofre onu akofre obinu ba kofre ni brabai. Me say so be coffee suspension so pa. Because suspicion now about because obi ye bibia woman is suspicious or see on call and then me find a sick man ye free hustle onu kofa obi no buy the penny for no bi on so mo nyina ye beti na mu ka asem no o see oji ne sika nya de obeti na obio.
So there was another altercation involving the same woman and some leaders in the market, and she got physical with them. Because of that, I think it was decided that she be suspended, because when you do something, when you flout the rules here in the market, you're giving some time away to, like a disciplinary action, to think about your actions and come back. Now, when it was her turn to take the punishment meted out to her, she refused to go on that suspension. Instead, she demanded that the money she paid for the shelf, which is 3,000 cedi for one shelf and 6,000 cedis for the double shelf, be repaid back to her. Mpachoni de 6,000 or 3,000.
Pacho or apata mienu, but or pretty apata for her, but min country. Onu kwankita instead of or 2 mienu sika, but or pretty apata for her. Dana mi ko satuna mi because I'm not knowing say or apata 4 shares for her. Enti ye enye ono ajuani e penny for no. Owo woman bi wo ho. Owo woman bi wo man bi wo ho nti nya e betina sin. Nti omo bisa no say obeko suspension and madam so ko suspension see origin sika. Nti oda mi catch am say me nkita sika wo ha ene. So obedi ne sika me ko me kire. Ampa so mi ko gi obi bosua. Na mi di ko panyin ba ko ha organizer. Ye ko ho ni mamba akwo odi onu adwa na ni me nya ye ko ho. Na ye friend no nka me discan mama no o si there be to say ye friend adwa ni nya ye video no na discan no share ni nsa o so cost of pension no dey oba move wo penny sika o si anya dey oba ko penny sika
na me pacho o say 6th January woni nkrofo bi ba honom e ka share ni say ombo mpa se Mahama ya inaugurate no na Mahama ye inaugurate no pe ubetu na efri ho na no kre 7 December ba ya woni nkrofo bi ba na mo betete na tare na mututu na mo bobo no.
I mean as a leader I want to make bu obi just like that. Yes, we are penny for man every month you call meeting almost 2 years for my advice mean to me in fact obi o market no onu na onu moment obi hu me pe. Now, sister, to say, we be bosom be a combia scene, so what by your ha, or no, call we ho, assemblyman ho, see about patch man. Only cast an ammonia, assemblyman, yes, as I'm not going to say, son of behavior and want to me about patch man.
Now, me pacho, Mr. Mbisa, because of time, I'll say wrap it up. A papa no of McCarthy, or see on or ye concrete, ne shelf, ne ma. Omo insuma jefi ni nsem na afa mu ye we nyina
menua my sister me say makati nu ono na ota adwo achi odim dia makati ye odim makati ye makati to me ko fa NPP for no ba bu ye me portal no power ha wo we ase no o man to me ye case manio as we Jamestown police station ono makati sister makati nu by 15 or 16 time we wo ho we former this starting hours on Makati or trap petition against me say boys me ye juma me di omusika ye
That was an interesting day in Agogloshi yesterday then.
You know, my takeaway from
Tell me. I'm dying to hear.
That's my takeaway from that.
When I first got reports of the story, I thought it's too early for us to still be doing this NDC NPP thing. And then you get into, you know what they say, the devil is in the details. And it turns out it's really about a character of a person and making all this about nothing because your money has been refunded to you. But we have some birthdays, Ben.
Well, we have Prince Agbeve. Yes, our very own Prince Agbeve. He invests in only two things in this life. One is his hair, the other one... We salute you. Happy birthday to you, Prince Agbeve. And there's also Martha Krenzel, who also celebrates. She's with the Adum team. We celebrate both of you. Happy, happy, happy birthday to both of you.
And that's our show for today, Tuesday, the 25th of February, 2025. We'll see you again tomorrow, same time, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. But for now, do stay for Faustina Safo. She serves you Joy News Desk. Bye for now. Mwah.